Ladies and gentlemen and track maniacs across the world, my name is Foof, and we are back with more open qualifiers. This is the third of four. I am joined in the booth by a good friend of mine. We got Junior P Cubed, and Junior, we just finished our time attack of 64 times to see who moves on. How are you doing today, man?
Feeling good, and well, as just we continue on, we just want to see just the best Trackmania contestants that we've got. The top four from this qualifier. We'll be moving on to the open finals, and it only gets more cutthroat as each of these broadcasts continues to progress forward.
Well, and it's a weird kind of power creep that Hunter and I were talking about last week, that it does kind of have that power creep of people getting better as they go on, but also the top four get removed from that competition. And so it's a weird kind of push and pull, tug of war per se, and it creates this interesting dichotomy. But the great thing is that this isn't open. It's open to everyone, even you, Twitch chat here, if you can get here next week and qualify to be one of those top 64 players.
Yeah, anybody can sign up, and it's something we've seen just across esports in general, that these open qualifiers, it's so incredibly helpful to push the game forward. You give all of the possible chances to the community ahead, and so Twitch chat, you guys absolutely should be signing up for these and competing, because maybe, just maybe, you guys can have a chance to compete with some of the best that Trackmania has to offer.
And remember, this is going to be giving these players, and you perhaps as well, a chance to qualify for that Trackmania Grand League Challengers position all the way at the end of that open finals. But can't get too far ahead of ourselves. We still have two more to go, including this one. And so, starting today, we had two tracks that kind of trip up a couple players, and it was that grass line and touchdown for these time attacks. So it knocks out these two tracks early, but the players have to come back to them at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's only just a mere portion of what this game has to offer. They'll have to face these tracks potentially later on, but in terms of just where we are right now, at the very least, getting those maps out of the way means that you've got your first step done, your second step done. Now it's time to move into the third steps, and now as we move into this round of 64, as we continue to narrow the playing field down, only gets more and more tougher from here on out.
See, the big thing that I absolutely love about this is it's that single elimination bracket, and it is you are against three other drivers. Can you win four times to move on? And then you have to do it again and again and again and again. And it just kind of entails itself to a very fun, and I'm biased, it's a story-building machine, literally, as you see people come in from possibly triple finalists and single finalists running through the field. It makes me excited, at least as an observer.
And specifically in this group that we're about to have, we got some very notable players on the cards. First of all is Switch999, extremely talented full-speed player. He skyrocketed into the main Trackmania talent this year, so he's surpassing the likes of Mudda on the full-speed skill, so he's definitely a name to look out for. Also in this group is Crosshairs, another extremely talented player, British player, and he's competing for world records, or he's been competing in world records in some of the older games that Ubisoft Nadio has to offer. So we've got some good names in this group that people who are watching in Twitch chat should be able to recognize as some hot-headed competition to start us all off.
Well, you know, and not only should it be a very exciting start for us, we have a wonderful map as well, going to be having speed up, and so it has that wonderful identity at the end where you're going to see players having to kind of navigate through the do's and don'ts and the cans and cannots of this track as they get that incredible speed burst around. And the big thing that you also talk about is obviously Crosshair is that well-known player, but he also made it to the semis last week and had a very, very, very interesting chance. And so you just need to wonder if they can continue to step up and possibly make a move.
And they're still looking to qualify for this open finals, and well, only the top four can survive. And with the amount of people who are entering in here, I mean, that's a lot of people. So it's a narrow funnel that you have to sift yourself through if you want to make it into to compete against some of the best that Trackmania has to offer. But that's what we're looking to do here in open qualifier number 3.
Well, Junior, I got to say, we obviously have the four lined up in front of us. Do you have any favorites, perhaps? We've already talked about Switch. We've talked about Crosshairs, but you can't knock out any Frenchman when you see him here. And I just wonder if we can see Ixon or possibly Tmgl make that step and find a way to push on, because these two are obviously well-known, and just kind of crack and make those two sweat.
Certainly, and it's easy to look at a group. Obviously, Crosshairs and Switch probably recognize each other's names, but Tylo and Zion, they're looking at this and they're saying, hey, we could take some matches or we could take some rounds off of some of these top guys here in the open qualifiers here in the round of 64. So it looks like we're about to get underway here. We've got all the cars lined up. Looks like we're going to be starting off very shortly with this group number 1. And, well, it's going to be a tough one to say the least. And, well, I think we're definitely looking at all 4 of these names just to see what happens from here on out.
I gotta say, a very first thing that I always look at, I always try to see what cars and what's, I think I don't remember the technical term of what the skin perhaps on the car is, but that is what I always look at, and I always try to see, do I have a favorite? And right now, that would have to be between either Switch or Crosshairs. Obviously, Dragons are super cool, but a tight start early on, all 4 of these cars right on top of each other, but it's Ixon and Crosshairs, a 2-man race sitting in front with Switch in 3rd and Tmgl just behind in 4th.
Yeah, but like you said, Foof, this is just such a close race right about now, and as this track continues to get closer to that identity stage, what really makes this track what it is, and these gaps are going to start to grow, so Exxon's finding himself with a good bit of space here. He's found himself with a nice advantage, but we'll see if the others can catch up, specifically Tylo. He finds himself a bit behind. Maybe he can find the better line forward. Ixon
currently holding in front of Switch, a little bit of a small step back. Him and Crosshairs racing for this 2nd position. And Ixon just trying to be clean in this ice section, wants to finish it well. Switch caught his wheels, and so moving into 2nd, Crosshairs and Titlo in 4th. And now we approach the speed up section, the actual identity. This is going to be a quick race. Stepping up his Crosshairs. He's got the run. He's going to keep on to it. He now just has to hold on, and doing just that, the first race goes to him.
Crosshairs has the better line there, and it looks like that he's going to be taking that first one, but there's still plenty more races afterwards, and especially with as close as that first race was, that especially this tight grouping that all these players find themselves in, it definitely lends some opportunity for some more race wins. It's not a clear-cut winner yet.
Yeah, it's just an open one to start it off, and once again, a very tight 4-car pack to open it all up. We're going to start to see a couple different lines. As Titlo in 3rd, Switch now opting for the 4th place wait on, and it's him and Ixon, just Crosshairs again. These 2 running neck and neck early on.
Running neck and neck indeed, and certainly not what we were expected. I mean, obviously, we were kind of looking at the information in front of us, seeing Switch to be up there, but no, he's kind of lagging behind. That's not to say that Crosshairs, he's having himself phenomenal races also, just continuing to sit right here at the front and just dueling it out with Ixon.
Back and forth, back and forth. These 2 jostling for position, trying to find a little bit of a cut here. Running low is Ixon, but he's able to keep the tires in touch the whole time and stay just ahead of Crosshairs now. Just about 2 tenths behind. Everyone else over a second. This is where Crosshairs made his move last time. That soft touch there keeps him away, and so Ixon looking to pull away and doing just that. We have a 1-1 start after 2 races.
I mean, that identity portion of this map is what makes it what it is, and Ixon finds himself now tied up with Crosshairs here, taking race number 2, and just, again, having the better line there, making the better decisions in the moment to find the result at the end of it and put himself competing once again with Crosshairs.
Finding themselves in such a tight start, but this time it's Switch who's out in front. Venezuelan rocking well, staying out in front, continuing to roll, or well, rocking the Venezuelan, at least car. Staying high, but going to be past there right in the end by Crosshairs. So, 2 we looked out for, now running 1-2, trying to find their mark. Switch looking for their first win of the track. Able to dive inside here, now to the grass portion. A great drive into that corner. Able to hold on to so much speed, but that drift loses a little of it. It's immediately clamped on by Crosshairs.
Seeing good times just in general out of all of these guys. I mean, we look at this track in general, the world record being 105 set by Massa, but now, I mean, Ixon set a 106.9 in the last one, and now we're right on track for that. Ixon looking to make moves up as well. He finds himself back in first once again as Switch and Crosshairs. They had themselves the advantage, but they've seemed to have taken a bit of a step back as Ixon now in the speed up phase continues to move forward. He's going to find himself yet another race win.
That's now number 2 on the board, and this is the best way you can honestly start a race. Obviously, Crosshairs having that first dub, but now putting 2 back-to-back, feeling incredibly comfortable. Means it is a good start here for Ixon.
Good start indeed, but kind of the beauty of Trackmania is that it's a reset timer, it's a reset track with each race comes through, so nobody's out of the woods just yet. Anybody can make a comeback from here on out. It's only a group of 4, but these guys are continuing to trade even.
Crosshairs just wondering if you can see Tmgl break up and find that first win as well, and look at Switch and see if they can also get their first dub. But right now, Ixon cruising in first. I mean, it is just a bit of a race between him and Tmgl. But never mind, they fell off, so it's an awkward spot as Tmgl up by 3/10, Crosshairs and Switch down by a bit more. And so, it's just kind of a Sunday drive here. Just, batten down the hatches, don't let it push too hard, just roll it back home and continue to secure that dub.
Nixon has got himself with a pretty secure spot right here, but might lose time. No, he's got the perfect drift right here, just to go around the corner, controlling his car to perfection. As well, it seems like he's putting in a good word for himself. We'll see how he does on the speed-up phase here, but definitely putting one in to see that he wants to get out of this group and he wants to get out of it alive.
Well, just having to walk the tightrope there. Tmgl getting a little bit too overzealous, but Ixon able to take the third and now move themselves to the first finalist position of the match and of the day. And so they look to secure their advancement on to the moon of 34, or 32, excuse me. Math is hard.
Yeah, math is hard. I mean, it's okay. I completely understand. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Tmgl and Switch. I mean, we kind of hyped up Switch in the beginning of the match, and we just haven't quite seen the same sort of vigor out of him in these last games. And looks like he might have messed up just slightly. No, he's still going forward.
I believe it was Crosshairs behind him, who just got a bit too high in that ice turn, and, it's an ice moment. It happens to the best of us. You lose too much grip and slide too far up. But now Switch out comfortably in front, trying to hold on here, looking for this first win. Ixon still hunting in that catbird seat, only 4/10 behind, trying to find a way to close this out, closing in on this dirt section. A dive on the inside, a very beautiful turn. Switch biting down low, and it's going to be a momentum race, and Ixon absolutely nipping at the heels of Switch.
Oh, it's a battle out, and now back into the identity phase once again. Oh, that's a bad touch from Ixon right there. Bonks his car, is going to find himself behind as he looks to recover. Switch has got himself a victory here. 108's going to cross the line, and now everybody else falls into suit. Good recovery by Ixon, but it's not enough to take that win there. Switch finds himself his first win.
It's a big dub to put themselves on the board. And, it's just such a worrying spot to be in when you don't have a win and someone's already in that finalist spot and perhaps another win has gone off the board. So Switch feeling a lot better right now. Tmgl now in that same position, having to try and make a move. And, Ixon just continues to be so consistent in these runs. He just has to make a little bit more of a cleaner run on the identity itself and can probably close this out.
You gotta win the whole track. You can't just only win the last part of it. You gotta drive all the miles necessary. And well, right now that's something we've seen Ixon do. He's got himself at that finalist spot, but these last three people are still duking it out. Another bonk right there for Switch is going to mean that he falls out of line right now, and he's falling positions also. And it's just to continue to duke this one out, and wondering if Ixon is going to find himself with the first four or the fourth win here.
Well, he's just got to overtake Crosshairs right now, who's running beautifully, up almost half a second, and that is going to be very hard to overcome, especially in this identity when you get to that boost and reactor down so early. You need to have a clean run. That's not going to happen. Crosshairs walking it down the aisle, putting it check on that list, and getting win number 2 for himself.
And a 107 also, that's a pretty reasonable score, a pretty good score, I guess, in this open league, and getting close to that world record, but obviously seconds it comes down to in these kind of races, so good times there, but still plenty of races left to go as Crosshairs looking to make his way up and potentially become that second finalist.
Reminder, folks, there are still 60 other cars knocking around trying to find their way and make their way through, because after this singular round there will be 32 less competitors and only 32 left to remain in this week's test. Crosshairs and company looking to leave their mark. Crosshairs one win away from being a finalist. Switch stepping out in front, and we've seen this a couple of times now, but this inside line giving Crosshair the line, but he needs to hold on tight because they are almost right on top of each other perfectly.
Neck and neck here, and it's going to come down to the minute details to separate who's going to go forward and who's not. It looks like Crosshair holds on to this line as he's going to slide around this half pipe real quick and just try to maintain this advantage that he finds himself with. But Switch even dropping down a little bit. It looks like he made a mistake there in the backside. Now it's Ixon and Crosshairs competing here as they go through the identity phase, dodging left, right, front, and center. It's going to be Ixon who takes the lead there with another 107.15. And, well, that one just really came down to the wire there between Ixon and Crosshairs.
I hate to take the low-hanging fruit, but I mean, Ixon had crosshairs in the crosshairs that entire time running up to this identity. I had to do it at least once, but had it lined up and then knocks it down in the end, using that reactor down and making sure you maintain that speed to hold on to that so you keep on top of the track the entire time.
Ixon's moving forward, so we're just looking for our second finalist now, and well, it's a three-man race instead of a four. Tilo is finding himself a bit far behind, and Crosshairs once again leading the pack against Switch, is continuing to duck and dive around and making these jumps look effortless as well. Crosshairs has himself the advantage, but it's not by nearly as strong as a margin as one might seem.
That's about 3/10, so a very comfortable lead, but no lead is comfortable when you're looking down the barrel of this identity and just so many obstacles flying at you so quick. Crosshairs has been incredible on this dirt section and opening it up into this ice slide. That's been where you get a lot of momentum, but that was a very tight run by Switch, and now he's knocking on the door, only down by a single tenth of a second, looking for the cleanest run here. The reactor down, but Crosshairs working it away, walking further along, getting to move to that second finalist position.
He finds himself at effectively match point, could end this group once and for all if he can find himself now and then move forward in this group in that top two position. And right now we're seeing it come down to the wire here, and well, Crosshairs has found himself with not only a considerable advantage in these identity phases, but also just in the race in general. Switch and Tilo just haven't had that same sort of prowess as we would come to expect at this level.
It's just maybe it really comes down to sometimes players have play styles and tracks don't fit them. And at times, Switch has looked incredibly well on this one. At other times, it's just gotten away from them. Where Crosshair is continuing to have this consistency, but it was the most consistent player moving on first. Ixon, we're trying to see if it can be that second most consistent player in Crosshair to do so, and this is a huge lead, running out about half a second forward, a second and a half over Titlo in third, and so it's really up to Switch to challenge here and make this round continue to go on.
You can see it in his headlights, you can see it in how he's turning his wheels, that he's putting up a good fight here and he's trying to close this distance. That's a good one on the ice slide. Now just getting closer and closer, biting at the heels of Crosshair now into the identity phase. Got to do this as quickly as possible, as Crosshair definitely has the best line here, is zooming ahead, finding his way all the way into the goal line, and then just crossing the finish line right there, and he'll be taking that second finalist position and moving on forward.
And unfortunate fact there is when you watched coming into that last line, it was just an opportunity for that gap to be closed on Crosshairs, but with a little bit of air in the reactor down, it pulls the car down so quick, and so when you have those tires up, bringing it back down abruptly ends up costing some speed, which ends up being, you know, not very beneficial when the name of the map is Speed Up, and the speed was going down at the end, but Crosshair is able to confirm that second position.
Ixon and Crosshairs moving on forward. So as we continue on forward in the qualifiers, it only gets tougher from here on out. There's more and more groups going on that we can't see right now. So we're finding ourselves now looking to move into the round of 32. And well, the matches only get... Not yet. We've got even more Trackmania coming up. So we got plenty of stuff going, and we've got plenty of races left to go. So I'm personally excited. This has been a great first group, but we've got even more left to go.
Yeah, we are currently getting loaded into another round of 64, seeing a couple more of these before they get away from us too far. And luckily, we're going to get in right before this starts. And so, folks, you get to see another full round. Let's freaking go. And so the four coming in that you are going to be able to see, you have Sequa, you have Abib, that's Wynos, Elcon, and Novu. So obviously, it continues to be a French-dominated lobby, but Elcon, who was a very fun player to watch last week, back in the round of 64 once again.
Back in again and wants to continue moving on forward, so these guys are going to be warming up here on same speed-up track that we've become familiar with in that last set of races. So we got some names here. We've got a lot of different players here, and we're looking to see if they can post up some better times than that last group, and especially as they look to move forward into that round of 32, if they can keep things going in that direction. I'm
sorry, I would like to reiterate, it's Sika and Enos, not Wynos. Very uneducated of me. I'm learning as fast as I can, but, a very exciting group that I cannot wait to sink my teeth into. And we just watched this map take out 2 competitors already. And there are 2 more of this group of 4 that are going to be laying on that chopping block before the day is done. Possibly all 4, depending on how these rounds move out at the end of the day. But I love this format. Again, it's a best of 1. You have to bring what you've already brought, and you've already had a good time attack. And now, Junior, you got possibly 4 races to make it on.
Yeah, you've got even a little bit more than that. I mean, at the very minimum, you've got yourself at, 8 races then? So as we find ourselves now, second group here, you've got a ton of times or opportunities to give your best line, to give your best result. But really, it's consistency that matters more than speed, because even if you have just only one good result, then that could just be not enough to move on forward. We saw that in the last group where certain competitors were able to find that one win, but just not able to build off of that forward.
So the big thing is that consistency of obviously winning is huge, but if you can find yourself in that second spot challenging for first, if that first player's been consistently winning, then obviously you get a chance now when it gets down to that group of 3, but you want to get an early win. You want to get that kind of bug off your back, that way you can make sure, okay, yeah, I can't not only win in this lobby, but I can look to move on. And a quick touch there means it turns into a very tight 3-man race. Elcon and Sequa running 1-2, only a 10th off of that, and sitting in third is Novu with a 6/10 right now, holding steady right under 7 at third.
Yeah, it's a close race. Elcon's certainly a crowd favorite, recently partnered on Twitch and extremely talented, and well, he's continuing on, moving forward and just trying to keep the best line that he can, but he's fallen down to third place as now it's a race between Sika and Novu.
Oh, Sika just rocking out in front right now with an entire second left between them in first or in second, and another touch there leaves Novu kind of out of it, so Elcon riding it 2. Sika just looking to put the finishing touches on this one, making the way through the identity. Does not have to sweat too hard. Just keep that reactor down. Gets a little bit airborne, but it does not matter at the end of the day. Round 1 going to Sika.
Yeah, and it's a 107 also. It's a very, very strong time. Very efficient, I guess, is a proper way of putting it. So great first win for Sika, but again, like we talked about in the last group, it's a reset track, it's a reset scoreboard, and a new opportunity to bring your best.
Big thing that I really like to watch is who's willing to risk to go to the high of that first dirt turn to try and get that more traction and momentum. But then at the end of that turn, obviously in the exit, you have those obstacles set in front of you. And now Sika, unfortunately, going a bit too high, flying too close to the sun, and the wax wings melt. Elcon out in front, holding on to about almost a second lead over Enos.
Enos trying to make up some ground here, specifically on the grass line, but able to get it there, and well, maybe an unfortunate turn there means that his journey forward is somewhat hindered, but plenty of track left to make up as, well, Elcon has himself still a large advantage here as he's taken the lead by storm, and he's looking to hold on to this with whatever he's got. It's a great clean run through that ice slide, and he'll just continue to drive on now into the identity phase.
Just once again, just a very sizable lead. You just got to be careful, but a bump coming through means Enos now steps up. Opportunistic, able to just drive clean. I think this, yes, it's going to be the win for Enos, who at any point in time could have decided to DNF. Being down almost a second and a half, you're rarely going to have that chance, but by doing it and staying around, they get the dub and make it 1-1.
I feel like we saw a lot more bonks there than previously anticipated. A lot more mistakes to make the gaps a lot wider there. And at this stage of the competition, you are racing against some of the best. You can't afford to make those mistakes, but you've got to remember that you still have these opportunities later on.
Right down to the inside. A lot of these players favoring Elcon's start. And now they kind of run nose to tail. Elcon and Sequa, 1-2. Dive to the inside is going to give a bit of an early lead. No touch on the wall coming from Elcon, but I think a soft one there from Sequa means he has to back off and hold on to it. But a dive into the corner, either an early break or just an off touch on that drift means Sequa catches up and is now sitting in first. Very tight race here for second as they hold on heading into the dirt.
Yeah, but still a close race here with really Sika and Elcon and Novu all the way over here, but really it's all 4 of them. I think it's Novu there that makes the mistake and bumps himself, so now it's Enos, Elcon, and Sika all moving on forward.
Elcon trying to make up this time. He's got to run this one incredibly clean. Sika dodging, walking it forward, gets a little bit loose, but it does not matter at the end. The lead a bit too big to overcome, and so Sika gets round number 2 for him.
Considerably great times here, right around that 107 mark, and just consistently hitting that same sort of line. But if you've seen that world record run from Massa there, that 105, whenever you're just truly diving in these lines and hitting these turns to perfection, like when the game is that clean and so efficient there, it's so incredibly entertaining to watch. And these teams, they're looking to show us a little bit of what they have here, and they're getting close to that line, just not able to pick it immediately up.
Once again, we have almost a 4/10 lead by Elcon. Whoever's in first just holds on to it and has been able to just kind of rest on that laurel and continue to maintain. As a little bit of an overcommitance there into the turn makes him have to slow down, but he's got still a half a second lead on Sequa in second. Sequa trying to find a way to make himself the first finalist in this group. Elcon trying to find win number 1. Now in this ice turn, we've seen players opt for the low run to try and keep that inside line. That means Elcon drives it well. Sequa unfortunately touches, so Enos moves into 2, but Elcon riding once again, just has to be clean and finish this one up.
He's got himself a sizable advantage here as he's ducking and diving around. Will cross the finish line with another 107 there, and will take himself yet another win. Rather, that's his first win here in this group, so he's put himself on the leaderboard, and now it's Novu with the only one left to score.
Well, I'll be honest, too. My favorite team might be Team Elcon as well, but, both of these players looking to make their mark. Sequa, Enos, Elcon, Novu wants to find a win. But this group has been really, it's been the front horse. Whoever gets out ahead, I know clean air isn't a thing for these cars. The air is entirely clear and it doesn't affect the intake at all. But it feels like whoever's in front has that clean air buff and just continues to run away from the rest of the pack.
Well, it's also a bit difficult when you're at the front because you can't see who you're racing. Really, you're racing everybody from behind you, and so when you don't have that opponent to race, it puts you in a tough spot because you just have to keep hitting the same line, but you no longer have that sort of motivation. Elcon there bonks himself, and Sika is going to find himself now with an advantage as Elcon looks to speed up, but now into this dirt phase, turning and diving around. Well, you're going to have to see if he can retake that space or if Sika is going to continue on this ice slide and just continue to extend out this advantage.
So it kind of puts you in an opposite situation where, a lot of players like to chase the rabbit on these track and author times, but it's obviously there's no rabbit to chase. You are the rabbit being chased, and so you have to have, instead of that instinct, just to continue to stay ahead of Sika. Hits it, and so Elcon given a chance, and I think he went off as well. Novu gets the dub.
Oh my goodness, that just completely flips on its head. I mean,
let's go!
Let's go. He gets himself on the board, but just a slew of mistakes there. And maybe it's kind of like where you see somebody make a mistake in front of you and that throws you off your game because you get excited. I don't know. Regardless, that's one way for Novu to put himself on the board here. And this is an even Stevens race here, certainly a bit closer than the last group where Sika's got an advantage, but it's only marginal.
Well, Elcon now out to the early start once again. Sika sitting, but he gets a little bit high, able to maintain some of that speed, but not catching up to Elcon. This has been a spot of contention here. This little corner has caught Sika a pair of times and allowed Elcon to grow this lead. I want to see if he dives inside to try and cut it off, but Elcon doing the same, able to not let that right front go off the line, keeps him out in front with a very sizable lead, rocking now almost, half a second. It's being bit on by Sika. Elcon looking to hold on here.
Looking to hold on, but Sika's going to start on this ice slide early to try to make up some ground, but might just lose some momentum there, and even bumps himself there at the very end of it, so got to give up some ground here, even going to drop down into third place as now the gaps are starting to become quite large here. Elcon's got himself, just has to have a clean run through the identity phase.
Yes,
will do that. Another 107, getting really close to 106 there, but he'll cross the line and find himself yet another win to tie himself up with Sika.
Sika just unable to overcome that small little miscue at the end, and Elcon now moving up to now put us at 2 players looking to become the first finalist in this group. Everybody eats, Junior. Everyone has a dub. We've all knocked around. We've seen players have clean, unclean runs. It's just who can find a way to put it all together. Sometimes 2 in a row, only 1 in a row, perhaps, for some of these players.
we're not seeing these long extended streaks where it's just one racer taking like 3 races back to back to back. Everybody's eating, like you were saying, Foof. And because of that, it's making these so fun to watch because anybody can take this advantage at any point, and certainly this has got to be the closest group we've seen all day.
I mean, it's just, again, the first place buff is just too big. Elcon sitting in front, you just hope, or you wonder if they can hold on, where you have Sika sitting second, who's starting to dive in to this ice section. This is the line that we've seen a lot of players make up that speed, but too much speed pushes you into the wall because you do have those ice tires. You can't turn too sharply, and Elcon, looking to try and finish this one up, has a smooth run, walking it home and looking to make himself the first finalist in this group.
Oh, and Sika speeds by Novu there right at the very end, takes advantage of the reactor, and is going to put himself at the very least a second-place finish. Won't have himself a win because of it. He's not going to add on to his tally, but at the very least, a mistake there made at the end that could certainly make you feel good moving into the rest of these races.
So technically the snipe came through. It just doesn't, unfortunately, get you on the board. You know, Sika given a chance now, perhaps, to practice. He got to practice the snipe. Now he has to do it on first. Is Elcon out to such an early start once again? You want to make sure you don't lose these tires to the very height of that wall ride. All players, I believe, doing just that. And now, 3-man race as Novu sitting just behind this pair in third, and Sika running front.
Sika wants to find himself at that second finalist position. Elcon absolutely wants to put himself in a safer spot to make it through this group. Only has to win one more race. Sika's making it a little bit more tricky on him, and now Sika has himself, or has a sizable advantage here, and he's going to try to slide around on the ice wall. Goes a bit high here, the parabola a bit extended out, and that gives some more momentum over to Elcon to take this forward going into the identity phase.
Elcon, again, just needs to walk it home. Does not need to overcommit. Just stay clean, stay smart. He catches the wall, and Sika moves in to take the finalist spot. We talked about the practice snipe. Practice makes perfect double the finalist.
Double the finalists now, looking to see which one of the two is going to be moving forward into the next round, guaranteed. But Elcon there, that's got to be frustrating. That has to boom your mental slightly. You found yourself right at the very end, just a millimeter away from victory.
You know, just the unfortunate adage of he went to walk the dog, Junior, but forgot the leash. And, you know, you got to make sure you have everything correct. And unfortunately, that small miscue ends up leading to a very unfavorable ending. Is now Sika looking to make themselves the first to move on. Elcon, who was that finalist, who had the lead, looked to put it away. A dive in from Novu, wanting to kind of push for first themselves and make that possibly a triple final so you can find 2 back-to-back. But Elcon running out in front by, I believe, almost a 4/10 margin.
Yeah, we're seeing the group split also, where we've got 2 finalists and 2 only at 1 race. So comes down to see who's going to qualify first here as the 2 forerunners find themselves with the advantage here, and they're just continuing to duel back and forth. But now we find ourselves in the identity phase, and one of these 2 runners could be moving on forward. Elcon has himself the advantage, trying to use the reactor to the best of his abilities. Will not get clipped, will not get dismayed. It's going to be a finish for Elcon, and he'll be moving on forward.
How much sweat do you just think he had to swipe off his brow there? With obviously knowing Sika was knocking on that door waiting to see if he'd hit that pole again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Sika's, you know that's already happened, so you can't rule out the possibility of it happening twice. So now it's Sika with the considerable advantage here over Novu and Enos, but plenty of time left and plenty of races, but it's going to come down to who can qualify. I will say this would be certainly frustrating for Sika if Novu and Enos were able to come back, but it looks like one of them is going to be finding themselves with a bit of a bump. They're going to have to reset, restart, and regain here.
I mean, I'm biased. I'd love to see it for the content, but, you know, all that really matters is if you can see if Sika can close it out. But Novu has continually got stronger and stronger with each run in these parts. And you have to wonder, can they step it up in this identity? Can they find their mark to try and take that pass over Sika? They had that run, you talked about it, where they got sniped by Sika to move from third to second, but now they have to do it in reverse, moving from second to first.
That was a good ice slide there from Sika. It's going to put himself still with this advantage, almost a whole 2 seconds over Novu right now. So Sika's looking to qualify here. All he has to do is not clip any of these obstacles in the identity phase. Gonna make it through cleanly. Gonna be qualifying next. We've got ourselves our 2 moving on to the next round.
That is a little bit of a sigh and a resetter if you're Elcon and Sika, Novu and Enos. Unfortunately, unable to move on. And we're going to be looking to move into a new lobby. I believe this one's already in progress, and so we're trying to get that one as quick as we can. But oh my goodness, you said it. It was one of the tightest groups that we've seen, especially today, with everyone having those opportunities and ways to win it. And I'm wondering if they can find that mark.
We'll hope that we can see even more in this lobby that we find ourselves in. We've already got one person qualifying in Javzo, but now Ryuhax, he's also in the finalist position and dueling it out with these two other racers here. And, well, in speed up, trying to make it through this ice sled in time. Going to have himself a good old slide here. Nice, efficient parabola there. And, well, we'll just continue to drive around, but this lead is still not that safe just yet. Got to keep going. Got to keep moving forward.
Well, you know, we came at the perfect time to possibly watch Ryu crown themselves as the second finalist, doing just that and making it in and moving on to the group of 32.
Got our first 3 sets, I guess, of the people moving on forward. We got 6 people moving on. You know what? Math is hard and numbers are tough, but you know what? That's all right. We've seen 6 people make it on forward, and, well, we've got just some really interesting races going on here, specifically in speed up. And chat, we've got to ask you guys how you're doing. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, and specifically if you guys are rooting for them, let us know in chat down below. We've been watching Trackmania all morning long, and so far so good as we continue on forward with this round of 64.
Remember, it's evening in a lot of other places as well, so day long is probably the safer bet. But, you know, now I think we're wrapping up. I'm getting, yes, from word from production on the back end. Yes, we're wrapping up this round of 64. We're looking to get these lobbies of 32 set up. So, just like that, Junior, boom, 64 sliced down to 32, which means the groups have shrunk by half.
Groups have shrunk by half indeed, and the competition only gets hotter from here on out. We move closer and closer to the afterburners here, where as we just naturally progress forward, as we narrow through this funnel, the competition is going to be tougher, and you're going to have to be giving it your best with whatever track is thrown at you next.
And that's the big thing, is that these players and us don't know what map's coming up next. They have to adjust on the fly. They know the pool, and they've had to possibly had some time practicing on them, but you never know what's coming up, and you just have to kind of say, oh, we're on this one now. GG, well played, I guess, or, oh, great, this is my map, this is what I want. I've been waiting for this moment. So, you know.
It's kind of the beauty, I would say, of this game, that you don't know what's coming at you, and because of that, you just have to practice all of them. You have to give it your best shot with whatever track is in front of you, because you don't know what it's going to be. You can't prepare for a specific order of operations, that is. You just got to make sure that you are the best overall racer if you want to make it through these open qualifiers and then forward into the open finals.
See, this is where the Open really differs from the Challengers and the Grand League. When I was getting the chance to talk to Mutta, the big thing that Mutta talked about was knowing that some maps he might feel more comfortable on and others he might not. And so it's kind of prioritizing what ways you want to attack those maps. Where this, it's the map is the map. You got to play it, and you got to do it the best you can and be one of the two to move on.
Just continuing moving forward. It's that same sort of format we saw in the round of 64, round of 16. All of these racers are looking to tango at their best possible line. So we've got ourselves in the lobby here. We've got ourselves 4 new racers here in the round of 32. We've got Zed, we've got Eve, we've got Isaris, and then we've got BMQS are going to be our 4 runners. 3 Frenchmen and a Canadian, which maybe depending on BMQS, maybe he does speak a little bit of French. So we find ourselves here, 4 new racers just sitting here in the warm-up phase and looking to see if they can keep everything going as we continue to move on.
And we have my least favorite identity as a player, but as a commentator, I love this identity. You have to make the jump. It is literally for the content, Junior. You have to make the jump. You have to either break early and hope that you have enough momentum, or break late and hope that you don't have too much momentum and go careening off basically into the wipeout course that is at the end, where players are going to have to risk it. They're going to have to dive and make their own decisions. You'll see some people breaking early. You'll see some breaking late. And it just kind of will lend itself to, it is really preference. There's a optimal way to do it, but these players are going to have to do what they have to do to try and make that jump and make that landing cleanly.
There's a preference of how you want to tackle this identity phase, but there's also a precision that comes with that, where it's not just where you can just do whatever you want, do whatever feels good. I mean, You have to do what is favorable here, and you have to do it as perfectly as possible if you want to find yourself these race wins.
Well, you know, here we go. I love watching the warm-up phase. I like seeing what some people do. Obviously, some players immediately dive in to practice it. And now, looking at it, you see the attempts at the ice wheel wiggle and a couple of there it is, the one going off. I was wondering who was going to go exploring on the map during the warm-up, but all that really matters is race 1. Attempt number 1, the wheel wiggles being attempted in an early run there, being let out of the gate by Heave, and he got the cleanest start.
Got himself the cleanest start, but like we saw in the last groups in the round of 64 on speed up, that gotta win the whole race. Right now we find ourselves over here on Clock Tower and looking to just drive around and explore this map. These players obviously no strangers to this course ahead. They've been practicing this one time in and time out to get ready for these open qualifiers, but it is Clock Tower. It's different than the last course. You're gonna have to drive it a little bit differently.
Yeah, the one I love to watch here is who's willing to bite low in this turn and cut as much as they can, because you are using that little bit of reactor down. But who can have the cleanest touch? Sven obviously staying out in front. The touch behind him means he gets a little bit more breathing room. Rocking almost what? I think it's a second. No, just over 6/10 as Heeser is looking to catch up and try and close this gap. We get to the identity. Sven going up high, opting to break late. So is Heesaurus. The dive coming through. A clean exit and a clean entrance means it's 1-2. Sven taking the dub.
And not too much hanky-panky right there. Just pretty consistent racing there. Sven will be coming out on top and finding himself the first race win. But aside from, I think, the one DNF out of Isurus, I think, it was a fairly clean run out of all 4 racers.
Now, I have to ask a really serious question for you here, Junior. What would you consider hanky-panky?
Just like a little bit of bumps and dodges here and there. Just like an inefficient run. There's just a little bit of hanky-panky there, if you know what I'm talking about.
I get a better feel of what you're talking about now. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I just had to make sure I was picking up the correct thing. But right now, Heave and Sven out in front. Heesaurus getting a little bit too high in the air, and BMQS walking into third, and that is a deep slide coming out from Heesaurus. He looks to try and get the momentum, but it is currently Heave rocking in front by about 3/10. Going to try and dive into this well, keeping that momentum. It's so key when you come up to these jumps.
Yeah, keeping that momentum after jumps it can be make or break for some of these races, especially a map like Clock Tower, where we've seen a lot more jumps here than we saw on speed up. So both these guys are going to be opting to go high here over on the right-hand side. BMQS just misses it by just a millimeter there. Falls in the water, has to redo the jump, but Sven finds himself a bit awkward here. Is he going to cross the finish line? Yes, he does, just barely before BMQS does, but that could have been a comeback right there.
But Heesaurus, the mislanding, the tire going off the inside, win number 1. I mean, holy cow. Talk about a snipe.
Talk about a great time. Also, Sven finding himself with a 105.9 there. That's a great time to find here in the open league. So that's a great find. Speedy time at that. And we've only seen ourselves with 2 races so far, and we're already picking up the pace.
I mean, it is just immediately starting to bite at these players and see who can put their best foot forward. Sven running cleanly, out in front, looking to make his mark even lower than the one he just set. Dive on this loop here, keeping in control, running clean, but in second, you have BMQS just about 4/10 behind, almost half a second. It's been extended to half a second now as Finn continues to run. This is a clean lap. He's still in control, just needs a clean exit in this turn to keep going.
Important to note that Sven had a great performance last week, but he just was not able to qualify. So here is an excellent opportunity to start separating himself from the pack and gonna get a bit caught up there. And he's gonna get sniped at the very end. Isurus is going to take another race win. Gonna find himself with 2 there, but Sven could have had the second, just touched his tires just off the mark.
Oh my goodness. There it is again. Isurus having the answer at the identity. The clean entrance and the cleanest exit means a time usually undercutting your competitors. And again, that left tire going off, it opens the door. And Heave running out in front, looking to hold on here, but Sven has had such a good run. Already posting, we talked about it, a 105.9 and running only, what is that, 700th right behind Heave.
Yeah, but you can't just have one good race. You've got to have at least four. I almost just completely misquoted the format of this tournament. We continue on forward, and we continue things going. My brain might be acting slow, but these drivers are certainly racing fast here on Clock Tower.
Well, it's racing as fast as you can without allowing the wheels to fall off, because then cars are a lot less effective when they don't have wheels. But Heave and company out in front. Sven trying to walk this player down, but Heave has had such a strong run this time around. You just need a clean exit, braking late, opt into land, but he gets tires up in the air. Sven able to stay with the outside, the momentum, the take. Whoo!
It's the exact opposite scenario of what we saw in that last race also, where Hisaris stole it away from Sven in the last one. Now Sven steps up and takes it away at the very end.
He learned from the best. He's making sure to adapt his strategies, perhaps. But Hisaris, I gotta say, obviously sitting back and forth right now, but the catbird seat is real. He is just waiting to find his moment to strike.
Oh, absolutely, and you want to find your moment to strike in each of these races, because now we've got ourselves a bit of a lopsided group right here. BMQS and Heave just haven't had that same sort of impact that Sven and Hisaris have. So they're still looking to make their mark here. They're still going to take a bite out of the same apple Sven and Hisaris are, but these guys are setting themselves apart. Yeah, finding them, it might not be sanitary, but it is plausible at that. So Sven and Heave now. Heave's looking to put himself on the scoreboard, but Sven holds on to this advantage still.
Well, Sven rocking in control. Heave right behind here, trying to find a way to snake that one through. He was out in front at this point last time. He gets a little bit wide, so Heave has the inside lane. You just need a clean exit and a land here, trying to stay on, but he goes a bit too far, and so Sven having an issue. BMQS goes off as well. Sven just surviving to move himself to the finalist.
Oh my goodness, it seemed like we saw 3 different crashes there out of Hisaris, Heave, and BMQS, and that means Sven finds himself in that first finalist position and only 1 race away from moving on to the next round of 16.
I mean, it just works, Just staying alive is the most important thing, and Sven able to do just that. Heave in front, riding in second is BMQS. Good dive to the inside here from the Canadian, but Heave maintains that momentum, continuing to stay ahead. Sven, an outside run, and right now, I gotta say, BMQS just being a nuisance running right in between these two cars.
And the cars might be semi-transparent. There's no actual collision, so you can't sabotage your opponents in that way. What is happening, though, is that when you see somebody that close to you, it makes you want to get a little bit antsy there. And, well, we're starting to see that as Heave and Sven, they both find themselves at this neck and neck. We saw this in the last race also. It's just a matter of who has the most efficient run from here on out. Sven, they're on the finalist spot right now, so Hisaris definitely wants to put himself in that second finalist spot, but we'll have to see if he can take it off of Sven, who does find himself in second. Can he land properly on this turn? No, Sven can't. It's going to be a Heave victory. He'll find himself now with another one on the board, and Sven won't be taking himself forward into the next round because of just that error right at the very end.
Heave gets the the third person to have a dub. Math is hard. We'll continue to say this all the time. Junior, you know about my lack of math. You've worked with me way too many times to know that. But Heave and company trying to close it out as they keep Sven away from being able to close out on this first final position as that moves it. And now, again, I'm a very big fan of having everyone eat, so I want to see BMQS get the dub and make everyone have at least a point on the board.
Oh yeah, you want to see everybody at this stage putting up a fighting chance. BMQS, we haven't said his name all that much just because he hasn't been able to make it that far forward, right? Always at the middle of the pack, but needs to start moving on forward. Is following this leader pack pretty closely, and if he can continue on with this route, it's just a couple turns away from putting himself within spitting distance of these 2 front runners.
Now, I gotta ask the question, does Hisaris' snipe have like a cooldown, and did he save it in the first round, then use both of them now to put back on cooldown? As he's kind of fallen out of favor with this track, as it's just been a Heave and Sven show, and once again, we have a quick race. The early braking there, Sven, realizing he's a bit high, but he keeps it low. Heave, though, with such a beautiful entrance to clean it up, getting the second in a row.
Heave is making himself a comeback here. Sven's found himself at this finalist spot for several races in a row, and it feels like they just keep getting stolen away there at the very end. So looking for this trophy, looking to steal it away, and well, he would certainly like to move on forward and take yet the next finalist spot and will effectively put himself on round point.
Well, Sven runs that through. That was a touch there, I believe, from Heave, who just loses so much momentum. And that is something you never want to see if you're a player who is hitting 2 wins back-to-back and has been just competing so well. You just lose all of that time you've been working so hard for. But Hesaris, the door is now open for them to make their move. Now in second, about half a second behind, but Sven firmly in control. Now doesn't have that ghost floating around their screen looking to just hold on.
Yeah, Sven's got himself a considerable lead here. He's about 0.6 of a second ahead of BMQS, who's looking to put himself on the scoreboard, but it's going to have to beat Sven first. And, well, this is an incredibly efficient line right now. He is zooming around this track and looking to go into this identity phase with as much pace as possible. We'll see if that comes back to bite him. Going to be a high shot here on the corner, just barely outside of it. Tight turn also means that Sven will be moving forward.
I'm talking about Heave just absolutely sent it to try and overcome that gap. Got close in the end, but not close enough. And now we have Heave and Hesaris. Pair of wins each in BMQS, rounding out the 3 remaining competitors in this heat. Both players looking to try and make their mark and find that first finalist in this group.
And BMQS would certainly make waves here if he were to win maybe 1-2 races, at least to make it just all as close as possible. But right now it is kind of a 2-man show here with Hesaris and Heave just continuing to hold that front spot now that Sven is gone. So all these racers racing close, just right inside of each other and really not giving anybody space to breathe here. Maybe that's the strategy, is just race the front runners as close as possible and then maybe see if they can mess up and take your line as efficiently as possible.
Currently stands at a 2-car race here, Junior. Heave and BMQS. 1 and 2, neck and neck. Only a 10th separating them here. As the jump comes through, the inside line being attempted by BMQ. As they make that dive on this line. Heave, though, continuing to stay out in front, looking to put themselves on the spot to become that second finalist. It's just a clean landing. It's a beautiful drift, pushing it through, making it their 3rd win.
And Hesaris went fishing and looking for Mark's Trophy 7 there, but doesn't exactly find it. And now it puts Heave himself at the next finalist position, where Hesaris certainly wants to take that off of him, would like to come from behind, and BMQS certainly is not going down without a fight. So keeping things going. All these drivers continuing to go at Mach 11.
Mach 11 perhaps, but that's not entirely needed. It's just the cleanest run that you can. And BMQS, again, the inside dive and trying to hold that clean line as he's out in front right now. Eve rocking that finalist spot, looking to put this one away. Hesaris only 1 win away from being in a similar position, and he's only back a 10th, so this is probably the best you've seen from Heave since about that 2nd or 3rd lap or round per se, as he tries to make and overcome this deficit.
He's got himself the advantage here, but BMQS is going to take it away. A reminder, he does not have himself a win yet, or a race win, and so he's looking to be the next driver up on the board and finds himself with about a 1/10 of a second advantage and just keeping on now 0.6 of a second, as all 3 of these players are right here, but this finish can be anything. BMQS bounces off the wall, and so does Hesaris here. Is that Heave making his way in? No, it's BMQS. No, Heave makes his way through. Yep. I confused my own brain, and Heave's going to be moving on forward.
I mean, it was pandemonium, Junior. It was just cars going off the wall, going off the water. It was weird, but the 2 that ended up running it the best, Sven and Heave, move on 1 and 2, and so we'll continue to stay in this round of 32. We're going to quickly be jumping over there, but what a way to finish it off. Literal fireworks, cars going everywhere.
Yeah, no cars blowing up per se, but at the very least, just lots of people moving forward as we hop into this next group with Sika, Tankram, Ixon, and Parmesan. We find ourselves now with 2 finalists in Tankram and Sika, and now they're looking to see who can qualify on forward, but Tankram finds himself at the back of this pack, and Sika not finding himself towards the front either. It's Thomas Jean who's moving on forward and keeping things moving fine.
Well, we have Sika. Talked about it, the finest medal as well as Tankram. Both of them, though, just kind of in weird spots right now as they're floating around the back waiting to find their mark. Thomas John hits, and so it opens the door. Ixon, Sika, no, it's just up to Ixon and I believe Sika, the last two cars who have not found the sides of the track, looking to try and find their way to the end of it. A dive here from Sika. He's going to stay to the outside line. That means it's a beautiful exit in this turn, making it into the jump, wanting to land this identity well. He does a good job of that. Tire touches, but he's able to save it and is going to walk through and move on.
Sika the first to move out of this group, but if you just look at the numbers right now and just who's right here, we've got one finalist, one at 2 races, and one at 1 race. This could very easily, with just this race right here, turn from a bit of a strategically leaderboarded place to just a really close group overall.
Oh, I don't know who that was that hit, but right now it's Thomas John in front. Ixon currently residing in second, and Tankrom, who was the finalist, now sitting in third with a lot of ground to overcome. It's a 2/10 lead behind him in a second and almost a half off of first. Thomas John looking to run this one clean. Had such a good lap last time. Just ended up catching the wall in one of these jumps. He just hoped that they can continue to clean it up.
He finds himself with about a half a second advantage over Ixon as well. So Thomas John having himself a lap and a half here, but going to have to win the whole race also. Cannot slow down as he extends his lead out further to about a second over Ixon. And that's going to go even further as Ixon's going to DNF. And now it's Tankrom versus Thomas John. But huge advantage being found here from Thomas. And going to keep moving this one on forward. Finds himself at the jump stage now. Going to have to execute this flawlessly if he wants to put himself in contention with Ixon. Going to race this one well. Going to turn it sharply and put it right through the finish line to put himself at a finalist spot.
Well, that now forces a double finalist, and we've seen 3 races all go ways away from Tankrom. And so Tankrom was in such a solid spot. Just needs to win one more, but Ixon and Thomas John continuing just to keep it just at arm's reach, folks. 2-2-3. If Tankrom, the Canadian, can find this win, he'll move on. But Thomas John and Ixon looking to extend this series even longer.
Continuing it forward, Thomas John and Ixon in the hunt here. Tankrom, like you were talking about, Foop, has himself the advantage just in terms of race wins, but going to have to be the fastest driver here if he wants to take that second and final finalist or group spot here moving forward in the round of 16.
Final finalist.
Yeah, the finalist. Thomas John. Yeah, I like it too. Thomas John dueling out right here for Tankrom and just trying to have this advantage, but it's neck and neck here, rather bumper to front bumper here as these guys are dueling it out, driving it. Oh no, Thomas John clips the uprights and now is going to find himself down and clips it again on the second way around. Tankrom has himself the advantage, but Ixon right behind him. Going to have to succeed this jump. It's slow. It's going to be right down to the mark, but it's a closer race out of Ixon, and he puts himself on finalist also.
Oh, the touch on the sidewall. Tankrom punching air right now. It looked like it was a done deal. But now we have a double finalist situation. As now Thomas John trying to force possibly a triple finalist. 2 players. If they win, the round is over. Thomas John's able to do it. We continue to battle on.
No, we continue on forward, and Thomas John certainly wants to put us in triple finalist territory here as Tankrom's going to have himself an unfavorable turn there. Now Thomas John finds himself dueling it out for the lead with Zixon here as they just continue this one on forward. Only about a 1/10 of a second separating the leader from the second place person right now. Continue to go around this corner. We've seen these turns all afternoon long as we continue forward in these groups, and we're learning the most efficient way to take it, and these guys are wanting to continue on, put up their best time, because now it is quite simply do or die.
It's do or die, but unless your name is Thomas John, just continue running out in front. We're Ixon and Tankrom. If they win, it's over. But Thomas John out in front, he hit the side, so it's Ixon and Tankrom. Who can find the win? Who can find a way to move on? Up in the air, landing coming soft. Ixon a bit wide, a dive in from. This is going to be tight with Tankrom. Keeps the inside line, winning by less than 6/100ths of a second.
Goodness me. When it comes down to that close to the wire, we had 2 finalists. We had Thomas John in the hunt, looking for his 3rd race as well. That really got as close as it could have got. Sika and Tankrom will be moving on forward, but that was certainly more close than either of them would have liked.
Holy cow, Junior! And Twitch chat. That is 16 cars now eliminated. So, players have risen, players have fallen, and now we stand at a precipice of cutting 8 more. Has your driver made it through? Who are you looking at to see move on? I know for sure I am loving all that I'm watching, if I'm being honest, Junior.
Oh, the races have been so competitive just all across the board. If I had to pick a favorite right now, it's got to be Sika, just in terms of that first, I think it was round of 64 or group that we watched. It was so close to watching him advance forward. He's definitely one of my favorites so far, but I mean, out of all of the competition, it's tough to say who's going to be advancing forward.
At this point, it is some of the tightest composition that you're going to actually see, and I love, as this series goes on, the racers get more and more close. And you saw it just there, almost having we had the chance for a triple finalist. Thomas Jean was in front and just diving a bit too low, catching that inside line and catching the wall. But double finalists diving to just win it at the identity. I mean, what gets better than that? We still have 2 more rounds.
Still have 2 more rounds as we narrow this playing field down as quickly as possible. And, well, we find ourselves now continuing on forward, moving on into the round of 16, where the course once again continues to change, and these players will have to finish forward. And as we're going through, we're going to start to see names that we've recognized from other parts. Specifically in this group, we're going to be seeing Tmgl and Crosshairs dueling it out here in the round of 16, and the competition's only getting tougher from here, Foof. It's getting close.
Not only is the competition getting tougher, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving to Tiny Gap, which, oh my goodness, this is the bane of my existence. But again, it's a content map. It's the ones that I get to sit back, hands behind the head, and just go, man, that is rough, but I love watching it at the end. I like to call it at the end, there's a tinier gap, and I love to see who can make the tinier gap and not finish.
Yeah, right now it just kind of looks like it's a precision-based map. It's the immediate thing that I notice is just these tight turns and really just if you really want to, the tiny gaps that persist across this map. Well, there is the tiny gap at the end for the identity phase, but at the very least, there's so many just narrow straights to traverse through that in terms of just this race overall, I mean, we've got 4 incredibly talented drivers here, and we're going to have to see which 2 can prevail and move on forward even further into the round of 8.
I honestly forgot that the cams were on there, and I was watching the warm-up, and someone made it into the tinier gap and slotted it perfectly. So, you know, there's your gift for the week there, Twitch chat. Enjoy that one. But, you know, I love watching this track so much, if you can't tell, you know. And it's such a fun group. We're continuing to stalk Tankrom here, who you saw it just literally by the skin of the teeth, and less than 600ths of a second was able to move on. But now has a new group of 4. A new group of 3 other players looking to make their mark and continue to move on.
And this track is just a little bit different than the last ones up ahead. So what we've seen a lot of in the previous rounds is we've seen these racers have these long straightaways and being able to keep momentum, but really it's a lot of slowing down, taking these tight turns, almost U-turns if you will, and well, the tiny gap at the very end, it's the identity phase for a reason. So as we sit here in the warm-up phase, it's going to be intense from here on out.
The big thing is you have to wonder which players want to risk braking at what times, because if you brake too early, you've lost all momentum and you're not going to make it. But if you brake too late, there is a top part of the track that does not go where you need to go, and that never ends well.
Oh my goodness, there.
I love this thing. I love this track. I hate playing it. Like, it is the literal bane of my existence. And I was talking to people in production of the back half before this. This is a game and this is a track that I've never had an equal amount of fun and have an equal amount of rage at the same time, I think.
Yeah, you can just see right here that it's just such a frustrating map because there's so many avenues for things to go wrong. There's so many things you can clip, so many things that you can traverse poorly down. So we find ourselves now, it's tiny gap here in the round of 16 as it's going to be everybody here in the lobby. We've got Tankrom, we've got Wawa, we've got Coco, and we've got Crosshairs all in the lobby, and we're looking to see who's going to start off ahead here as all these players are gearing up for race 1.
Gearing up for a very similar start in the warm-up, and all of them want to opt to take this early grass slide and get nice and loose, you know? Obviously, I feel like if you play a video game too tight, you always have some issues. So I think the warm-up is always important for people to take that moment to kind of shake everything loose and kind of get back to where you're supposed to be, because this is a group of 4 very competitive racers that have all posted incredible times at all of these tracks, and only 2 are going to be able to move on.
Crosshairs and Coco using gravity to their advantage here as they are practically right on top of each other, but we'll see if they can handle this turn well. Looks like Coco's the one to do better on that fair and just keep things moving forward, driving on as they're ducking and diving and dodging and weaving around this course, looking to keep this advantage and, well, continuing on forward with just these best possible routes that they can.
Listen, man, if you can dodge a barrel, you can dodge a checkpoint. That's all that really matters. Wawa in control, sitting in first, does not want to bounce. Does a great job of maintaining that. And so now with these wet tires, you want to make sure you get as much of that control that you have. And now we get to the tiny gap part. Wawa going up, sitting in second. You have Crosshairs trying to land this here. The late braking means he's going to be clean on that exit. It's a 2-man horse, but quickly Wawa takes the dub.
Wawa takes it forward with a 1:06. That's still a pretty fair time there. Pretty good for this open league in general. And that 1:06 is a great place to start us all at.
Beautiful starting.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the world record being a 1:05.3 by Wazile or Wosil. I'm sorry, my pronunciation is awful. Wazile. Yeah, Wawa takes the first race, but now it's a battle to see who can take the next one or if Wawa's going to find himself out with a comfortable advantage.
Crosshairs sitting in second, no, now third, now fourth, as it is just a shuffling of deck chairs repetitively around these turns of trying to find the cleanest lines, but Crosshairs finds their way through the mix, looking to stay clean and in control. Walking at almost a 2/10 lead right now on the ice, rolling towards this small jump towards the other side, landing it cleanly. He's looking to stay in front, doing just that. Second and third, you have Coco and Wawa.
Crosshairs, though, has that 0.3 of a second advantage as he wants to put himself on the scoreboard early on, but going to continue to have to make these tight turns in a reasonable fashion. The wet wheels now starting to wear off as now we speed up and we go down into the tiny gap. 0.7 of a second advantage as Crosshairs has found himself with a considerable advantage, just has to drive straight, let gravity take his car into the finish line, and he'll be taking round number 1 here with a 1:06.9.
1:06.9, another sub 1:07, which is really impressive for these drivers here in the open qualifier as they try and find a way to kind of, I think it'd be really impressive to see them get under that 1:06.7, 1:06.8 mark consistently. Wow, slowly diving in, and we just stay with that tight 4-man pack. I gotta say, with the just amount of like black and red cars, I lose track of who is who, so I have to quickly get a face through to make sure I know who is who.
Yeah, it's sometimes tough. I mean, it's the beauty that these teams and these players get to identify their car with them, but sometimes it can be a bit tough on the viewer's perspective, but we keep things going, we keep things moving forward. Despite all of the black and red cars, we still find ourselves here at a relatively tight race, 0.3 of a second separating all 4 of these drivers here as they are in this pack, and now they're going to go through the waters into this wet wheels phase and have to control their car admirably as they continue on forward. Now starting to wear off, having to make this turn with precision, and will continue to do so, but Crosshairs continues to find himself this advantage going into the identity phase.
Oh, but Coco a bit short. That is just a crash, but Coco survives the bump. I believe this is going to be enough. And you know what? Chaos is simply opportunity, and it is Coco's opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like Coco takes himself the crown here. He is the king of Twitter, now the king of Tiny Gap there in race number 3, keeping things on and keeping things moving forward. Tankrum, the only one yet to score here in this first group.
You know, it is just, once again, the opportunity for us to have an equal start and everyone having their own dub in only the 4th round. Tankrum, though, sitting in 4th, is going to have to overcome almost 2/10 to catch back up as this 3-man pack building as these 3 runners stay on top of each other.
Yeah, just so close again, like Coco and Crosshairs within a 1/10 of a second of a leader, and then Tankrum is about a second behind, but that's okay. There's still plenty of races and still plenty of ground left to catch up on, as really it's all 3 of these people right on this ramp phase, just trying to have the most efficient line possible. Wawa has himself the advantage here, jumping and now into the water for the wet wheels phase, also driving around and having to control their car a bit differently than normal as the drift starts to wear off. Coco and Wawa continue with this advantage, but Crosshairs keeping them in his sights and, well, eyeing this tiny gap also as they're going to make it through. Yes, they are. Maybe a slight bump there from Crosshair means Coco is going to take his second race in a row here to find himself on top of this group.
Well, just, again, it's all that really matters at the end. It's just the cleanest exit that you can. And I still want to harken back to the first dub. It was not a clean one at all, but it was the cleanest of the group and was able to live. And so Coco putting 2 back-to-back, making themselves only 1 win away from becoming that first finalist in this group. And so, quick start here as all 4 cars still on top of each other. But Tankrom, again, off of the pace by just under 0.4 of a second. And just staying surely behind, I feel like the catbird seat's a great spot to be in, but you need to make sure you have enough of room to overcome that gap at the end.
It's one thing to be in that hunting stage where you're just sitting there waiting for what's going to come next, but at some point you have to strike. You can't just pray around for eternity. You have to find your moment and take it as soon as you want to. So, keeping things going, keeping things moving is... Looks like Crosshair is going to find himself the advantage here, and he's going to have himself a pretty even run. But that bonk there is going to mean Wawa can retake the advantage, and now it's Crosshair's looking to speed up as everybody seems to pass him.
Wawa in control right now, above others, looking to land this cleanly, and does a bit errant on that landing, but it does not matter. Too big of a lead. Tankrom finishing in second, and Wawa moving to make their second win. Coco with 2, Wawa with 2, Crosshairs in third with the 1 win, and Tankrom again winless as they're still searching.
Love to see him find himself a race win here, but still ample time. At least 2 more races remaining. Actually, probably more than that. I'd say probably 4 or so at the very minimum. That is if Wawa and Coco are to take it. I will say here, Foof, we look at everybody on the scoreboard, and everybody has an underscore in their name except for Wawa, but he's still trading even with all the underscores indeed.
And it's just, underscoring maybe. But Tankrom, again, just a miss 2 there. The stump 3 here, Crosshairs. Coco in second. Wawa riding right behind in third. Overtakes 1. Now has Coco set in his sights. Starting to reel this Frenchman in. Looking to run here on this checkpoint. A clean landing from both players riding on that outside line. That's a catch from the tires. Means Coco loses some speed, and Wawa now knocking at their door.
At their door indeed, just sitting right here on Coco's tail. They have to come out of this. The wet wheels are wearing off, and Coco's going to do that turn favorably. So now into the tiny gap here. Coco is going to fail it. They're going to have to start again. Crosshairs goes from third to first just like that and is going to take himself his second race win.
Crosshairs in the catbird seat dives in and then makes the dub at the identity, making it 2-2-2 across the scoreboard.
2-2-2-0. Tankrom has yet to win a race, but it's still as close as possible. Wawa there bumps into the checkpoint and is not going to be able to find Fack. Actually, DNF's here as now it's a 3-man race, and, well, still an opportunity here. Everybody is just right inside of each other, less than 1/10 of a second out, and, man, this is a 2-2-2 race, so in terms of evenness, this is just still anybody's race to win.
I mean, the door is wide open. No finalists, like you said, on the board, but I'm still, I'm biased. I want to see Tankrom walk it up, but it's just not been a favorable map for them. Currently sitting in third with a chance to overtake in second, but you need to make your mark a bit earlier than this identity because it's just so unpredictable, and you need to have the cleanest launch that you can. Coco given so much room here, and now breathing almost a second and a half behind him in second place. Just needs to stay calm and in control.
Needs to stay calm and under control. Coco just has to make it through this tiny gap. Oh, it's going to be close here. Oh, just right off the mark there. Bumps off the bottom, and now it's Crosshairs taking the lead once again. That's got to be the second time we've seen that where Crosshairs has gone from an unfavorable position to a favorable one in just the snap of a finger.
It's just like Crosshairs is drawing it up, Just wait in the perfect spot, have the cleanest landing that I can, and then, oh, yeah, I'll collect the win as well.
Yeah, keeping things going, keeping things moving. And Crosshairs finds himself in the finalist spot now, and now it's Wawa and Coco who found themselves at the verge of that finalist spot, but now need to move on forward.
Crosshairs running right behind Coco, who has looked incredible in the early stages of this track. It's just been, unfortunately, its namesake That has been their bugaboo here. Crosshairs between the two Frenchmen. Tmgl, the Canadian, bringing up the rear. As we now have a 10th behind first and second place, 3/10 in third. And Wawa already DNFing, feeling like he was out of this one. So Tmgl having one of the best starts that they've had, but still needs to overcome a bit more to close this gap.
Coco going through that checkpoint was .009 outside of Crosshairs here. If that shows just how close this race is, it's that Coco is fighting for that throne once again. Crosshairs still with this good line, but now it's into the tiny gap. Into the identity phase. Be Tmgl's win here. He's going to bump off the top of the ceiling. Coco is going to throw himself at it, and it's going to find himself at the next finalist, but Crosshairs just outside the mark there.
And that is going to make it a double finalist here between Coco and Crosshairs. And again, it's kind of that two players that have found their footing in that consistency as these laps and rounds have moved on. Wawa had a bit of early success, but now Crosshairs and Coco trying to close this one out as they are one win away from moving on.
One win away, double finalist territory, and Wawa knocking on the door also. It's a question of if it bends or breaks, and now early it's starting to wobble. Tight grouping here as they're just right, all in the same spot here, and maintaining this line as effortlessly as possible. Coco, Wawa, and Crosshairs all in pursuit and looking to find themselves in favorable positions for this identity phase coming up.
Well, a very tight pack with the front three, both finalists and Wawa. Currently residing in that front group in Tmgl in the catbird seat again. But, you know, moving forward, you want to see if Crosshairs can catch back up to Coco, who has been so strong at this point onward. It's just, again, hate to sound like a broken record, but the tiny gap possibly being tiny gapped as Wawa jumps to the inside. Coco gets that boost quicker, but you need to have the better landing. Looking to make this here a clean, smooth exit means Coco needs to just finish this one, riding to the end and almost being punished from a little bit of a bonk, but it does not matter. Dubs coming through.
Bit of a 1/10 of a second loss there from Wawa, but it doesn't matter. Coco takes the advantage there and takes the crown on this first possible opportunity. He will be moving on to the round of 8 into the next map and doesn't have to race any further, but we still have Crosshairs on finalists, Wawa on 2 race wins, and Tmgl certainly looking for his first as well. So competition narrows even in this group, but Crosshairs only needs 1 win and currently finds himself out front.
What if we gave actual crowns instead of medals? Like, you know, a gold crown, a silver crown. I think that'd be cool. Too expensive, not in our budget, but we'll move past that. Brain aside, Crosshairs in front right now, running very solidly, looking to stay ahead. Does not have that Ghost of Coco to chase ahead, so he is the front runner in this group.
Front runner indeed, but again, this grouping is so close. I mean, 0.005 of a second separates Crosshair from Wawa as they go through that checkpoint. Now, they continue to go around. If there were collisions on, Wawa and Crosshairs would certainly be bumping tires here, but the wet tires continue to wear off, and now it's into the tiny gap phase. Who is going to have themselves the better opportunity here? Crosshairs maybe a bit high, actually resets there, as now it's Wawa just barreling on forward, gonna put himself at finalist also, as now we find ourselves once again at double finalist territory.
Wawa was just saving it up, you know, charging up for the finalist spot, and now with one single spot left to move on from this group of 16 to the group of 8. Wawa steps up to look and lock themselves in as it's him and Crosshairs. Only 1 win away. And Tmgl, I mean, you have to do the unthinkable. Reverse sweep, winning out here, and it's going to have to start incredibly quick.
Would it be bad if I started cheering for the unthinkable here? I mean, imagine the content there.
For the content, right?
4 wins, 4 race wins back to back to back would be incredible out of Tmgl. Now the reality is that Crosshairs and Wawa continue to control this front pack here. So as they continue on forward, Crosshairs and Wawa currently the top contenders, but Tmgl has himself an opportunity still into the water phase now. Crosshairs and Wawa both coming out of this, but all 3 of these players within 0.3 of a second make that 0.2 of a second roughly. It's just such a tight-knit grouping, and now into the identity phase. This could make or break this entire round here as Tmgl's going to bump, and now it's Wawa in front. He's going to cross the finish line, and he'll be moving on to the round of 8.
Again, Wawa has been so consistent, but couldn't find the wins to put themselves in the finalist spot, but then finds 2 back-to-back, and it is absolute jubilation on the side of Wawa and a heartbreak on the side of Crosshairs, who was finalist for 3 rounds, but could not put it together.
it's gotta sting, and especially when you point that out, that it's it's so close there that just, oh man, it just stings just a little bit more when you have that finalist, when you have that F on your screen for just so long and you're just not able to cross when you need to. It's so frustrating, but that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Unfortunately, Junior, that is how the cookie crumbles. And as we kind of look, think of the day as a cake slowly being passed out and slices being there. We have found ourselves at a point of impasse, folks. The round of 8. Win here and move on, and you are locked in at the finals of the Open. You get one more race today. Lose, and you have to go through this whole bracket again starting next week. But, ladies and gentlemen, Junior, we're going to be taking a short break before we go to that round of 8, so stay where you are. We'll be right back. ladies and gentlemen, and track maniacs across the world. My name is Foof. This is Junior P Cubed, and we're back with more Open Qualifier 3. Junior, it's the round of 8. We have only 8 competitors left, man.
Round of 8 indeed, and we find ourselves here with names we've seen all across the evening. We've got Sven, we've got Coco, we've got Elcon and Nako all in this first group here. Only 8 remain and only 4 can advance forward.
And, you know, we've cut the entire field in half every single round, but this is a lot more personal, folks. There are only 4 faces, 2 of which you'll see get eliminated here, and then the 2 on the other side. And so, obviously, looking at this group, we have players who have put up absurd runs, who have made their mark today. You have Elcon, you have Sven, you have Coco, and you have Nako, who we're seeing for the first time. But we're going to be on this map Touchdown. We're going to be seeing who's risking what on these jumps and who can find the inside line and make the cleanest runs.
Yeah, clean is the name of the game here. You want to find yourself with just the most efficient run that you can. And, well, it's consistency overall. Again, it's the same sort of format, first to 4, and, well, we got ourselves here, and just making sure that everything's good. As we've got ourselves now, it's run number 1 of the day, and we've got a close group as ever. It's still warm up. I'm sorry.
Don't get trolled.
I got excited. I got really excited there, Foof. I got baited.
Now it's round 1.
Now it's round 1.
You were ready.
I was so ready to hop into the round of 8. Woo! We find ourselves here, Group 1, Race 1, and now we find ourselves all here in this tight grouping, and, well, we're just looking to see who can take this first race, as lots of these turns right here, but a lot faster than that last map was, and just seeing how that course was different in Tiny Dip. Now Touchdown has these longer straightaways and a bit more room to just open up the throttle.
Yep, Sven currently residing in second, right behind Coco, Elcon in third, and Nako almost 5-6 seconds off of the pace here. So it truly is a 3-man race with Coco and Sven pushing around each other. Elcon trying to find a way in, going to dive to the inside, but Coco and Sven still rocking out in front. Sven with a beautiful run to the inside, now up right behind Coco.
Yeah, and Elcon's just trailing here in behind. He's right on the other end of this as now they go into the first of these jumps, and Elcon, is he a bit short? No, he's just inside the mark there, keeps himself, and now it's all 3 of these players just sitting right here at the same sort of spot, just looking to put up the best time that they can possible. World record is a 1:12.14, and we're going to see a 1:12.9 here out of Coco here as we start off Touchdown with the first race.
I mean, that was a beautiful start coming out from Coco. Able to just hold off the feverish attempt from Sven. Round 1 going by way of one of the 3 Frenchmen.
Yeah, 3 Frenchmen, and I believe it's a Czech Republic or Czech Republic racer and Elcon. So 1 race gone. Coco has the advantage, but we've seen how close these groupings can get, that it is still anybody's game here, and nobody has thrown it out of the wayside yet.
Nope, now we have Nako out in front, but Sven with a beautiful dive inside. Nako goes off the edge, and so Sven in front, Coco in second, Elcon a bit further behind, almost a whole second off of this pace. Coco now in a reverse spot where they were last time, having to ride behind Sven, but the break early means Coco steps back out in front.
And Sven finds himself with a 0.2 of a second, 200ths of a second. Yeah, that's the right one, right behind Coco. So this race, once again, as close as ever as they go into these jumps once more, and they're still neck and neck, side by side as they go into the next one, and they're looking to just find the most profitable parabola here. Now down the ramp, checkpoint is coming its way, and now they're looking just to cruise their way into the finish line, around the poles, and Sven will cross just marginally before Coco.
It's a switch of the old script there. Coco and Sven still 1-2. But wait, Sven didn't hit the checkpoint! So Coco wins! That's what happened! That was a missed checkpoint. I was trying to figure out why Sven didn't get marked. And oh my goodness, Coco now with 2 wins.
That'll certainly rattle your senses there to go out in that sort of a fashion, but you know what? That's the end of it, and Coco finds himself with a second race now, and this pack is starting to be extended out as it's Nako, Coco, and Elcon. I tried to go with the different pronunciation of the O, but we continue on forward. Elcon through the checkpoint as he is the Czech driver here, and keeping things going as he watches from the back of this pack, but still looking to strike.
I can't believe I cannot believe you took that one. But Coco currently rocking in first place. Nako fighting off this feature attempt from Elcon in third. But Coco's such a sizable advantage here. 4/10 now over second place.
And Coco extending this advantage out as we go into these long, high jumps here. As well, now it's Elcon going to get himself stuck at the top of that ring there. A bit high there, finds himself in a bit of an unfavorable situation, but that will probably spell his demise here. Now it's a race between Coco and Nako, or Coco finds himself with a bit of an advantage here, driving around the course, just has to make it through the post, and Coco, 3 races in, has found himself at the finalist position.
I don't know if Twitch chat got the view it or not, but I love the fact that Elcon just sat on his roof on the top of the checkpoint. Didn't win the actual race, but certainly getting style points in my heart. But Coco, third win now, looking to make themselves the first to move into the round of 4 and secure themselves a spot in the Open Qualifier Finals.
Want to make those Open Qualifier Finals. That's what these guys are all competing for here, as the players are now diving around this course, looking to see if they can take some marks off of Coco, who has a sizable advantage here in the round of 8, as now it's Nako having himself the advantage here. Going to make it through the checkpoints with ease as they continue to drive and drift around now into this ring on the wall. They continue forward, but this is such a tight-knit group. All drivers right here in this, 0.03 of a second gap?
I mean, it just is the same line has been found by this front group. And I mean, Sven's had that line as well, just a couple of miscues. So we are now up to seeing who can run the actual identity itself cleanest, who can find the earliest landings. Coco out in front, but knocking behind her. All 3 of these cars. Sven gonna get, I don't know if Sven hit the checkpoint there. Coco able to land it here. And now it is a mad dash to the finish. Nako looking to finish, but Coco able to just stave off by 15 thousandths to get a dub.
And that's a 1:12.9 or 0.9 right there is Coco. It only takes him 4 races to qualify all the way through. Coco finds themselves with a good start there. Nako already DNFing off that first turn means it's just a 2-driver race here between Elcon and Sven.
Well, with only one competitor, one might think that it's a little bit easier and you can play a bit safer, but you can't now, because any mess up at all and it goes to your opponent. Sven into this engine off area, riding slow and steady, but now gets back into the gas beautifully and is able to maintain a lot of momentum and grow this lead as he starts to walk away from Elcon.
Elcon not having the cleanest run here. Sven is capitalizing on every single opportunity he has just to get inches ahead of Elcon, but hold up now, it's starting to become a bit of a battle here. Elcon diving into that corner, but just not going to be able to contain that momentum moving on. Continuing to drive around, drifting around these corners into the jumps now. See who can continue on forward. Elcon take the inside route, but just not maintain as much speed as Sven does, so Sven maintains this advantage. Second jump, last of the bunch. Now Sven continues on with this and just has to effectively drive straight on. Can Elcon make up this ground? No, he can't. Sven will be taking his first race here in race number 5.
Sven was able to grow a 10th in the identity there that ends up opening the door. I love the risk coming out there from Elcon, but unfortunately it does not pay off. And Sven, you said it, win number 1, and that basically still means the door is wide open here.
Wide open indeed. It's effectively just a restart of the group, just with one less racer, considering that Coco was able to take themselves 4 races back to back to back. So Sven has the advantage, but it's still, like you were saying, Foof, anybody's ball game here, or really anybody's speedway here, as Sven, Nako, and Elcon are dueling it out to see who can take the next one and solidify themselves on this scoreboard.
Well, Sven currently sitting in that 3rd place spot, but dives underneath Elcon, and Nako now able to just hold on, but getting a bit wide there and losing some traction. Sven to the inside, and so it's a big shuffle as Sven goes from worst to first, but it is still so tight, and now it's Elcon's turn to lead the pack. He wants to dive here and run this straightaway clean.
And it just seems like they're trading spots right now. None of these 3 racers really taking their advantage and holding onto it here. So Sven going to be right behind Elcon here, second of the 2 jumps as now they go through, and we'll see if Red Bull truly gives you wings here. Elcon, it's now a race between him and Sven, going as fast as they can, trying to turn it around, but Elcon's going to take it and find himself a first.
Able to check that one off there and get the first win under his belt. Oh, I did it. Oh, I cringed on that one. But it doesn't matter. What a piece to get it started. And Nako looking for their first win.
And Nako wants to put themselves on the scoreboard as quickly as possible because this can start to get out of sorts incredibly quickly here. Sven and Elkan have established themselves here on touchdown. Nako has been trailing but not yet fighting yet. So it's a question of who can move on forward and who's going to start to solidify this advantage. Or Sven if Sven and Elkan, if one of them take this race, then we're going to have a perfectly pyramidian scheme in terms of how this is all set up.
The Verizon Bars-esque situation in the scoreboard. You always love to see it, 4-3-2-1. But Elkan had such a huge start, is now holding on to it well. Just needs to continue to, my favorite word here, Junior, maintain. Whereas on the side of Nako and Sven, they need to regain. As Nako's starting to lose a bit of time here, Elkan has been given a wide berth. Over half a second now, sitting at just over 5.77. Looking to hold on here. That nice jump going into it and going to land it cleanly.
Landing cleanly indeed, as Elkan has proved to have the most efficient of these identity runs recently, as they'll jump as soon as they can. Now it's just a race to the finish as well. I believe he's got somebody right behind him, but it won't quite matter as he crosses again and puts himself at 2 race wins, forming that triangle, but also just showing off some of that superiority right now in this group. Elkan currently has the best 2 runs out of this last remaining 3 drivers. It's a question of who can take that away from him. Is it going to be Nako? Is it going to be Sven, or is Elkan going to continue his dominance?
I thought you were going to say, is Elkan going to take it away from himself? And I was like, that is a really interesting dichotomy of having to beat yourself, especially in a game centered around beating yourself in the times. And no, my bad there. I took it a different way. But all that really matters is that you have Nako knocking on this door. A 1-2, very tight race here going into the engine off in an incredibly similar line. Last time we saw Nako drive that aggressively, he got that grass penalty catching a tree, but this time it is a clean exit. Him and Elkan running 1-2 right now, and Nako out in front for the first time in 3 races at this section.
Elkan wants to find themselves with an advantage here, or rather just to put themselves even with Sven, as Sven's fallen a bit behind, but he's still tracing along with the pack, only 0.3 of a second outside the leader. And now, battle between Nako and Elkan. They go into these big lofted jumps here. Sven wants to catch up on time, but takes his jump a bit too high. Now it's Elkan and Nako going into the second jump as well. Going to make sure that they have the optimal route here. Nako finds himself in front, but can he maintain momentum here? It's a race to the finish. Can Nako cross the line first? Will dodge the poles and go straight through the finish line.
Elkan was just trying to make up any and all time, but at a time when you get about 0.2 to about 2.5, I think it's just a bit too big unless there's something drastically wrong happening at this identity. And now we have wins across the scoreboard. Everybody eats. There's simply a buffet. It's just, can you bring the utensils? Can you find your way to win? And Elkan and Nako back out into a 1-2 race. Nako with an early lead, but Elkan quick to shut that away and get out in front. But these cars just on top of each other, trading positions back and forth.
Love to hear from you, Twitch chat. Who are you guys rooting for out of these last 3 remaining drivers? We've got Elkan, Nako, and Sven all posted up and trying to find themselves the advantage. Personally here, Foof, if I've got to go for any of these guys, I've got to root for Elkan here. He had the advantage early on, but has just seemingly started to lose it as Nako and Sven have started to bounce back. So definitely looking at Elkan here, but Sven and Nako are not too far behind.
Not too far behind, but close only counts in hand shoes and horseshoes. Hand grenades and horseshoes. Hand shoes and horse grenades. I don't think that sounds like an alternate card game to Exploding Kittens. And you know what? That's your $1 million idea, Twitch chat. You can take that one and run with it. But Elkan currently running with this game. Sven trying to catch up as well. The break just a bit early, but he's knocking on this door. A beautiful landing. He's going to get some momentum, but not enough to close the gap. Elkan taking it.
Bit close to the outside of that checkpoint there, an inch to the left, and he might not have finished in the way that he wanted to. Now it doesn't quite matter because Elkan's found himself at the finalist spot now, and now it's between Sven and Nako to see who is going to continue on forward and if they're going to be able to put Elkan through his paces.
He's continuing to just keep ahead right now as him and Nako trade back and forth, but Elkan obviously benefiting from this trade as he's up in the finalist spot. Sven and Nako only 1 win apiece, and they need to make something happen if they want this round to continue, if they want their day to continue and confirm their spot for the finals.
Elkan finds himself only one race away from not only putting himself moving forward, but just ending this group as we know it. He's battling it out here with Nako, and it's just so close between the two. Nako wants this race to continue on, and rather this group to continue. Elkan wants to stop racing and at least rest for a little bit before we move on to the next round. He's got himself the advantage, and we're moving on to the identity phase now. First of the two jumps, Elkan to do this effectively and just comes down gracefully now into the second of these jumps. Nako and Sven not too far behind. Sven will DNF, and now it's just a race for Elkan to see if he can just make no mistakes moving forward. 3 seconds behind is Nako, and Elkan's got all the advantage in the world. Will drift through just barely to the left again. That could have been a DNF, but you know what? It's our second finalist found here. Elkan and Coco advancing.
Perfectly coordinated, knew exactly what he was doing the entire time. Totally wasn't just hanging on by a thread there. But 3-second margin, it's almost impossible to catch back up for that. But you have Coco and Elkan moving on and now securing themselves not only a top 4 finish here, but now their spot in that finals after the 4th open qualifier. What a day we have, and we still have 2 more players to eliminate.
Still have 2 more indeed, so we've got more left to go. We know that group already. It's the final 4 of this round of 8. We've got Wawa, Dionysos, Feed, and Mimo Jr. over, and so now, as we keep things going, we've got just 2 more players to eliminate, but on the flip side of that, the opposite side of the penny, we find ourselves here with 2 more players to advance on for. We're going to be getting the second semifinal ready, but Foof, I also got to ask you, Twitch chat, who are you looking at in this next semifinal here? We've got Wawa, we've got Dionysos, we've got Feed, we've got Mimo Jr. Personally, I think this is still anybody's game here.
I'm biased that I have loved watching the players that I get to watch the most, and I've seen Mimo Jr. and I've seen Wawa, so I want to see them do well, but I know Dionysius can have some very surprising performances, and obviously made it to a top 8 spot here, just needs to win 4 in a row. 4 not even notched up, just 4 to do it.
4 to do it indeed, and so, we're about to be on warm-up, I believe, here, as we're looking to get started soon, and got everything. We're just hoping to keep everything moving forward. We've got everybody in the lobby here, and we've already seen this map in the last group. Now it's a question of if these guys can do it even more efficiently than the last.
Well, the thing is, it would be nice for them to do it more efficiently than the last, but Junior, it's the old adage. You don't have to run faster than the bear. You just got to run faster than the person behind you. And that's the adage here. Just run faster than the other 3 cars in the lobby, and you'll be doing just fine.
Well, we've got race number 1 here, and it's as tight of a pack as ever as well. None of these racers, drivers want to make the first mistake here.
Out front, Wawa in second. Dionysus in third. Mimo, though, overtaking, and now in the engineless section, able to cut inside and get to the second spot. A beautiful run there to put themselves in a spot to now compete for this top position.
We're starting to see the grouping expand a little bit, just to spread out, if you will, where Feed has the advantage, but it's Mimo and Dionysos just right behind him, and Wawa taking a bit of a back seat here, about a second behind the leader as, we continue to go around this track. Now we find ourselves in the identity phase. We find ourselves at the jumps. Feed is parabola a bit high, and Dionysos should be able to contain some momentum here. Feed finds himself at the back of the pack here. Mimo now taking the advantage as it's into the second jumps as well. Feed with a much more efficient one there, and it's so close here between him and Dionysos, keeping this close. Can they make it through? Yes, they can. Feed puts on the first race.
Oh my gosh, Dionysus is looking for that inside line, but unfortunately, who put that wall there? Whoever did that ruins the run for them, but Feed able to get the first dub in the first round.
Feed is just being one of these talented technically players and just able to do the little things to push it across the line, and as a veteran of the scene, it's safe to say that he was congratulated there for winning the first race, but you got to win the next 3.
You got to win at least a combination of 3 before everyone else wins their 4. So it'd be nice, we saw a 4-0. But Feed and company looking to make their own mark in their own ways. Mimo once again finding themselves in that second place position in such an early start and getting a ton of ground. But that outside line puts them on that back track, and Feed maintaining the lead, but not by much. Everyone within half a second behind the leader.
Again, these tight groupings. We expect this as we continue to divvy up the results as we've moved on from the open qualifiers to the round of 64. Now we're down in the round of 8. We expect these races to be close because this is the best of the best that the open qualifier has to offer. Wawa overshoots his jump there, as now it'll be him watching from the sidelines as the rest of his compadres continue to compete. Dionysos continuing this forward, has the advantage, just has to make it through the uprights and makes it through and finds himself the race win here.
Feed getting a little bit too acquainted with that checkpoint there, and Dionysos able to take their first in round number 2, and now it's up to Mimo Jr. and Wawa to get wins of their own to make it a very aesthetically pleasing and an interesting scorecard.
Interesting scorecard indeed. Again, tight races here. These gaps in skill level are becoming more apparent, I guess is the proper way of saying that, where what you find yourself in is just a situation where these guys want to give it their best effort, but it also starts to wear and tear away from you. You can become complacent when you're driving the same course over and over again. It's about giving your most consistent run the most consistent amount of times here, and that's what we're seeing out of all of these racers and what we're going to see if they want to continue moving forward into the next round.
Currently, Feed holding on to first place, has that win underneath his belt. 10th in front of everyone else. 3/10 behind is Mimo Jr. Wawa, the only one right now who's going to be in a spot to challenge if nothing else happens. Feed still trying to maintain this lead. We get into the first jump here. Both players opting for a very similar ride, but Wawa goes inside and hits the checkpoint, so Feed catches it well. Mimo Jr. in control and touching it down and putting themselves in the first place spot. Going to have to ride this one out and going to take this win, and so we have our third player getting a win.
Third player getting a win, and I think that's the second race in a row also for Wawa where he just overshoots his jump just minusculely there. It puts him in just such an awkward spot because he has such a great race the entire time. Wawa is doing everything that they can to move on forward, but unable to score a race win yet. Maybe that can change here in race number 4.
Well, you know, everyone has had every rose has had its thorn so far, and you're wondering if Wawa can find their mark here. Feed again, early start, early lead, and out and in control. Riding in second, you have Dionysus. Riding in third, you have Mimo, and just a very tight knit pack. But again, just who can drive that inside line? Dionysus going off, and it's up to Mimo Jr. now in first.
Junior holding on to this lead and has themselves a race win already, but and I have to keep that one driving forward, continuing this consistent rhythm. They find themselves in and not missing a beat. Now, getting closer and closer to this identity phase as they continue to race around and just looking for whatever gaps they can start to exploit. Feed going to take a marginal advantage here as we go into the first of 2 jumps. Now, up in the air here, Mimo. I think he slightly misses it there. Now it's just a 2-man race. We have the second one left to go. The last jump on the horizon. Feed's going to carry this one all the way through. Has the advantage and just needs to drive this one all the way home. Mimo Jr. too far behind, and all Feed has to do is make it through the time.
Well, just old Feed back out in front, and then you said it, just realizing, hey, I don't have to worry about it. Just continue to roll the dice and stay in control. Now with 2 wins on the car, looking to make a possible third here in this next race.
Wawa still yet to score, just messing up technically on these minute details. And really at this stage, it comes down to the little things. You hear from your coaches, don't sweat the small stuff. Well, here, you kind of got to start sweating the small stuff if you want to make it into the next round of play here, because that's what Feed, Mimo, and Dionysos are doing here, and they're just continuing this one on. Dionysos is just having this advantage and wants to take himself a second, but struggling to find this advantage here and a 10th of a second behind.
I know you know it, but Twitch chat, ladies and gentlemen, if you win here, you secure your spot if you move on as one of the top 2. If you don't, you have to go through all the rhyme and reason, song and dance again next week just for the chance. So these players, 2 of them, are going to secure their spots in the open finals, and 2 of them going to have heartbreak and have to go through it all again next week. Feed with an early lead in this race and an early lead in the match points as well, but nipping at his heels. Dionysus looking for an inside line. It's going to be a clean jump from both of these players, but it is so crisp from Feed, who walks ahead just looking to finish it. And you said it, another pair of DNFs. Feed putting themselves in the finalist position.
This is such a tricky course to travel upon because of how many opportunities there are to just fly off the course. You have to be pinpoint it perfect if you want to finish this. And at the very least, if you want to do it fast, you have to hit it just the bullseye square in the head. So we've seen 3 race wins out of Feed and Mimo Jr. and Dionysus finding themselves at 1 race win apiece. Wawa not finding himself any so far. So keeping things moving, keeping things going. Wawa still trailing. He's the caboose here, but it's starting to move up those trains as they continue to move down the track.
Well, Dionysus out in front. You have Wawa repping right behind him now, sitting almost in the exact same spot, running beautifully here, neck and neck. 10 thousandths running right on top of it, as it's a quick lead for there into that checkpoint, riding into this very slow point. Both these players trying to maintain a dive on the inside there, coming from Dionysus to try and gain this lead. But the momentum gain from Wawa keeps him in the hunt. These two locked horns right now, trying to find any advantage.
We've got 2 separate packs going on right here. I believe it's Feed and Mimo Jr. and then Dionysus and Wawa at the front. So continuing things on. Got 2 separate packs, but they're starting to converge here as these tectonic plates begin to crash amongst these different players. Dionysus is going to find himself another race win, put himself just outside the finalist position, but it's a strong, consistent, and efficient run out of Dionysus.
Yep, Dionysus is able to get on top of that one and find a second dub. Feed, enjoying the feet are propped up. Now I think it's more Fed than Feed at this point, has already had his feast, as Dionysus, Mimo Jr., and Wawa trying to make their way through.
Trying to make it through indeed, and well, we haven't had anybody qualify yet for the next round of play, as Dionysus right in the middle of the pack here. Feed and Wawa trailing as well. Really, all 4 of these drivers are just right here indeed, so keeping things up, keeping things moving. Dionysus at the middle of the pack and Mimo Jr. controlling it from the front.
Well, Mimo rocking right now, holding on to this marginal lead. Less than 1/10 of a second is Feed, and he is nipping at the heels, trying to put this away and make it through to move on to the finals of this Final 4 here. But Mimo holds off, and that's a run coming in, I believe, from Dionysus. And so these 3 cars looking to make their mark on the identity.
Mimo just marginally ahead here of Dionysus. This jump can determine everything right here. Feed just depends on landing here. Oh, it's so close. It comes down to the efficiency of the turns here. Are they going to make it through? Who's going to make it through? It's Mimo crossing the line first and finding himself yet another race.
Just seeing that orange car stick its nose out a little bit early into that turn, you realize what a clean line it was. And Mimo now making it a pair of wins for them. And Dionysus, Feed still rocking that red F, but has to put one more on the board. And Wawa winless right now. On the outside looking in, but still in a very good spot with a lot of racing left to be had.
Sometimes the final race is the most difficult to win because you've established that you can do it 3 times. The question is if you can do it 4. Now, Feed has himself at the advantage, just hasn't had that same sort of competitive edge as we saw in those first couple of races where Feed really extended their lead out relatively far. Now, it's Wawa trying to take control here. Hasn't had the most fortunate of luck, but certainly hasn't won a race yet. Would love to add a tally to the scoreboard, but going to have to keep up as much momentum as possible. Dionysus starting to take this advantage now as he cruises around the course, and they're going to make it through these checkpoints and gates as well, into the identity phase, into the advantage, and now it's to see who can carry the most momentum forward.
It's about maintaining enough momentum to make the jump, but then landing with that momentum well to keep it on. And Dionysus was the one doing the best of that. Now he dives early, using the brake, and going to do another perfect job landing in front. And it looks like if he can hold on to it, we'll have our second finalist, as Feed starting to sweat.
Feed's starting to sweat indeed. You want to be the first one to qualify so you can be as well rested going into the round of 4 afterwards to face off against the contenders you've already seen on this stream. Now it's Feed and Dionysus dueling it out to see who can qualify first. For Feed, it would absolutely be frustrating to be in a spot where you've had this lead for so long. You've been 1 race away for as long as you have been and just haven't been able to push it over the line yet, haven't been able to cross the finish.
Feed, though, with an early lead once again, but staying to that outside lane, opting to try and maintain the momentum as you dive into this engineless spot, but he loses a bit of time and gets caught back up from Wawa, who is still searching for the first and elusive win in this round.
Elusive win indeed. Mimo Jr. and Wawa Still hunting behind, but just a little bit further off the pack than Feed and Dionysus right now. Wawa now has himself a considerable advantage here, about 0.2 of a second ahead of Dionysus, and now we go into the identity phase here where we've seen Wawa slip up on several occasions. It's about having the most efficient process here to make these jumps through with ease. Going to maintain momentum and maintain the advantages. That second of 2 jumps now, as the worst thing that could happen here was you just kill all of your momentum or you fall off the track. Still in the advantage, only by a margin though. Diving around these turns, looking to cross the finish. It's going to put it home to put his first on the board for Wawa.
Okay, Wawa, welcome to the track and welcome to the scorecard. Getting a dub here and making this race continue to move on. Dionysus and Feed obviously in that finalist spot, trying to put themselves away into the top 4. Mimo Jr. and Wawa not allowing that to happen just yet.
Not allowing them to happen. Dionysus and Feed certainly want to be taking this one shortly, but maybe Dionysus has fallen into the same sort of syndrome that Feed has, where he's got himself right at the finish line. If he sneezed, he'd cross it, but that's just unfortunately not the case right now. It's the same case for Feed as well. With these guys right in finalist territory, but now they start to take their advantage once more. Mimo Jr. and Wawa start to find themselves a little bit further back from the leaders on the scoreboard, but they're all still right together. They're so close in time, so close in staggering themselves out that really this is still anybody's race here, Foof.
Yep, Wawa sitting in third here, Dionysus and Feed. The 2 finalists are sitting 1-2. Feed trying to bite inside, just kind of looks like he's dancing around trying to find any slight that Dionysus might make, but now we're on to the identity. Who can find what where is all that really matters, and Dionysus staying on top, staying in control, and staying in the lead. Just needs to stay through this checkpoint. A bit high there coming from Feed. I believe Dionysus lands out in front and just needs to hold on to the end, doing just that, becoming the first one to move on, and putting a 1:12.777 while doing it.
Pretty impressive time also, and well, just getting close to that record that Massa set. I mean, it's hard to edge out these tracks as close as you can, but right now that's what we're seeing here. So now, first person to qualify forward is Dionysus. Now it's Feed, who sat with this F at his name for a long time, and the F stands for finish at this point, because really you just got to finish first and you can move on, but it's so close yet so far away for Feed. Wawa now with the advantage as they continue through this grass section.
I mean, Wawa has just been saving it up and obviously got the win earlier and is now in an early lead once again. Feed having to just keep this rear bumper in view at all times as he's trying to make up the time and put himself away and confirm a top 4 spot. Wawa getting past by Mimo Jr. That was an incredible bout of speed, maintaining momentum, and Mimo rocking forward.
And Feed finds himself at the back of this pack. Meanwhile, Mimo and Wawa have themselves a relatively comfortable advantage. But now into the identity and where all of the marbles start to fall. Wawa's going to be a bit high there. He's going to DNF. Now it's Feed and Mimo. Feed wants to qualify, but Mimo wants to be a finalist as well. Now into the second of jumps, and Feed's gonna miss it here. It's gonna be a lot of space given over, and oh, he misses it again! Mimo Jr. crosses the finish line here. It's a DNF out of Feed, and now we've got 2 finalist territory once again.
Double finalists with the final spot to move on the line. Mimo Jr., kind of one that has had spurts of incredible runs. Feed, you know, I think of that early game has kind of unfortunately lost the snowball, unable to roll it ahead much more. And Wawa, I feel like it's in spurts. It's the old shotgun method, throwing all these lines at the track and seeing what sticks. Feed, though, out in front right now, trying to maintain and looking to put this away and off to a great start.
Off to a great start indeed, but you can't just win the first sections. You got to win the whole race. Feed has found himself on the precipice of winning so many of these. But Mimo Jr. now in the hunt. Wawa also looking to throw a wrench in that engine block as well, just not as many races as Feed and Mimo have. Now Wawa, with the advantage here, could start to make this a whole lot more dicey for either Feed or Mimo Jr. as they continue to dive around this course into the corner. We come up on these jumps shortly where the identity phase is of the utmost importance as Mimo carries the most momentum into the jump. This could start to bite him in the rear end, though. Times it perfectly and will fall once again. Wawa's got the advantage, but now it's the second jump coming up and need to carry as much energy forward. Mimo Jr. looking to see who can hold on to the most energy here. It's going to be Mimo Jr. marginally as they continue to dive around into the corner. Can they make it through? Yes, they can. Mimo Jr. will be qualifying and be the second one to go through.
I mean, it is just the highest of highs for Mimo Jr. to come back from a position where it looked like it was all but over, and the lowest of lows is feed. Twitch chat was dropping the Fs for feed because he was putting on a show, but is unable to close it out, and now we have our final four, our round of 8, broken down. Holy cow.
And these have been close, too. I believe the last one that we watched also, that last semifinal, if you will, went to double finalist situation also. So it shows just how competitive this game can be just at the highest level. When you've made your way through the open qualifiers, cruise through the round of 64, 32, 16, and now you find yourself in the last 8 remaining, it comes down to the wire, and we've got our 4 moving forward into the next round.
Well, not only moving into the next round here to compete one more time today, but have now secured their spots in that final. And so, you know, you think of this as a victory lap as well for some track players, or some Trackmania players and racers might not take this as seriously, where others, this is for seeding. You want to put yourself in the best position. And it's on the lovely track of Water Glider. I cannot wait because this identity is so fun, and we've seen a ton of snipes on this back half. I want to see if they can use it in a spot to kind of prove to themselves. Obviously, they had a great time run on it already, but I want to see it happen live.
Yeah, we've got ourselves a great lobby here. The players that we're expecting here, I mean, just with the 4 that have made it this deep in, it might only be a formality from here on out. This race is only really for seeding, as I believe these guys are already qualified for the open finals. But still, this is where you can start to show off a little bit in terms of
no seeding, I lied.
Oh, no seating. I'm completely pointless. This is just a fun match here. Thank you, production, for keeping me in line.
Twitch chat. I was just trying to see how many hot takes you guys would take until you yelled at me. But, you know, I will stand and die on this hill, all right? I enjoy Water Glider. You know, I obviously don't like racing it, but I do enjoy watching it. But, you know, it's not Water Glider. It's a lie. It's Grass Slide because I wanted to troll you more. Grass Slide here, you got to find the bug slides and the clean tracks. So, Twitch chat, where are we going to be? Is it Water Glider? It's actually Grass Slide, I promise.
Again, just yet another hot take that Foof wanted to see if you guys could take it before realizing what was going on. Now we got Grassline here, we've got Elcon, we've got Dionysus, Coco, and Mimo Jr. This is a star-studded stack here in the warm-up for the finals here, and it's what you expect when you've got effectively a single elimination bracket funneling all the way in. You're going to have the best possible competition at the end of it, and quite frankly, while this match is only for fun, we should certainly be seeing some good racing here.
It's the old 4F movement, you know, and so I love to see this coming through, and I'm just hoping these players come in with that best foot forward because, you know, obviously they continue play, they're going to continue racing and prepping for that finals, but they're not going to have as many opportunities to have this competitive scene on this scene and on this stage in front of a group. And so, you know, I'm hoping they take the best foot forward and kind of take it to step forward and say, this is who I am, folks, get ready for me because you're going to see me in a couple weeks.
Yeah, with the open finals coming up, this is a chance to show what you've got. It might just be like a camp almost, just to say like, hey, this is what I can do here. This is the kind of level that I can play or I can drive at.
It's a pitch.
So, yeah, exactly. It's a bit of an identification spot here for all 4 of these drivers here, and well. We've got some star-studded cast here, and we've got ourselves our final race of the night, rather final group of the night. So it is still anybody's ball game, and well, quite frankly, this could go any direction possible.
I mean, it certainly can. And, you know, going in any direction possible. You know, I love watching these warm-ups, see the different cars. Elcon is currently driving the track backwards. So I don't think that's the direction possible that we thought of. But, you know, hats off to you, Elcon. Just enjoy going backwards while you can.
I mean, he's doing it faster backwards than I could ever dream of doing forwards. So he's already better at this game than I am. Yeah. Exactly. He's wild, and he's going toe-mater all the way around the track. And it might just be the final matchup we've got. But you know what? He's completing it backwards. He's warming up the fingers in the opposite direction. You know what? That's okay because we're just waiting here to make sure we've got everything sorted out, everything going because we've got Grasslight coming up in a bit. Now, I've got to ask you, Twitch chat, we're looking at this race and we've got 4 of obviously the top 4 drivers in this entire qualifier. They've all convened down right here. Twitch chat, who are you looking at specifically? Who do you think is going to take this one over the top? And also, I want to throw that over to you, Foof. Out of these 4 drivers, who do you think has the best possible spot?
I mean, if you want to go by, like, recency bias, obviously you want to think of Mimo Jr. perhaps or Dionysus, but, you know, I am still a big fan of seeing what Coco can do because Coco at times has run away from the pack but you can never count out Elcon. So you're going to say, Foof, you just mentioned all 4 drivers. What does this mean? I don't have bias here, folks, because I don't know. It's too tight to call.
It is mathematically impossible for Foof to become biased after the hot takes. He has now just set himself firmly in the middle, and now
back in the icebox.
Yeah, exactly. We find ourselves now final grouping of the night, and we're keeping everything going. Tight group with Elcon just trailing behind, being a bit of a cameraman here, but that's okay. Plenty of races left to go.
Well, right now it is between Dionysus, but never mind, he hits the wall, so Mimo Jr. stepping up into second, and Coco, as I said, out in front to a great start and continuing to do just that, running firmly ahead, very confident and very much in control.
Very much in control as well. 0.3 of a second ahead of Mimo Jr. is Coco. We've talked about it already. He's the king of Twitter, looking to take his crown here, even if it's only for giggles as we continue moving forward. So, moving on forward, he's going to bump into the trees right here as Mimo is going to take the advantage also, but no, he stopped also as Elcon. Oh no, what's going on here? Coco is going to take the advantage. It's absolute pandemonium here as well. Coco's going to take the advantage right at the end. Goodness me, that was all over the place.
I've heard a comedy of errors, and I don't think I've ever seen one play out just like that, but whatever way to do it other than the first round of the finals.
Yeah, first round of the finals indeed. Coco takes it and, well, keeps everything going, and, well, has this one race advantage, but still it's anybody's race here. Dionysus, Mimo, and Elcon continuing things forward and wanting to make sure everything is keeping on going.
I do want to shout out, I love having a lot of control in our camera, but I love that top-down shot of just watching everything going wrong for everyone in the most possible way, and Coco going, wait, I can win this. It's now Coco rocking in first. Very much ahead is Elcon resting behind. Obviously, Pandemonium broke out in the last time, so in the catbird seat here, just needing to survive and stay within a close enough distance.
Yeah, and talking about staying in close enough distance is Elcon right here as they are going to make their way through here. Oh, actually, there's a bump there. Coco's going to continue moving on forward, narrow straights, but just take his way all the way through into the back. And now, 2 races, 1 for Coco here as they've set themselves with a rather comfortable cushion to sit on here as they've got the first 2 out of the 2 races we've driven.
Just a beautiful drive here from Coco, kind of catching it back up and in control, kind of reeling back in, because, when you have a finish like that in the first one, it's very easy to kind of laugh it off and lose that serious push, but Coco's still in control, back out in front, racing with Mimo this time, and Dionysus rocking in third, but catching the wall and having to drop out of that pack due to the bump penalty.
Yeah, the bump penalty not fun, but ends up being what can separate the good drivers from the great drivers here, as Coco is solidifying themselves as just a great driver right now, and, well, looking to put their third on, be the finalist here in this race, as Coco has put up several great races back to back to back.
Back to back to back, and it is just trying to maintain as Mimo riding alongside here, putting a lot more pressure on than we've seen Coco had to deal with, and so, the old saying, pressure either makes diamonds or burst pipes. Coco, though, with such a big run. Diving inside of Mimo Jr., the bug slide. Clean. He wants to stay on the second line. The inside roll is there, and he's going to take it to get the first dub.
Thought Coco was going to take the third race there, but no, it's Mimo right at the finish to steal it away, and now 2-1 here, as now Mimo has put himself in a favorable position here to start to take races off and maybe put himself in a finalist spot.
We've seen it before where players kind of fall off at the front half, but then kind of gain their ground and find their lines as they get warmed up and adjusted to the track. So, obviously these 4 very, very, very competent players and incredibly talented. It's just about getting your feet underneath of you and making the line that you want and making it work.
Yeah, it's staying as efficient as possible, and efficiency and consistency go hand in hand. If you can do an efficient run once out of 100 times, then you're not going to be as strong as someone who does a 75% efficient run at 100% efficiency or consistency. I'm getting all these efficiencies and consistencies twisted up in my head. English is a hard language. It's certainly not my first, but regardless, we find ourselves here at race number 4, where Coco finds themselves at the front end of the pack. But hold on for a second here. I believe that's Elcon trying to make a name for himself. It's a tough bug slide. Oh, but just falls right off. Coco has the lead.
Dionysus?
Oh, it's so close. Is he going to cross first? Yes, he will. Coco's a finalist.
Oh my goodness, Mimo though. 14 thousandths at that door. The orange car, unfortunately, not a long enough nose to eke that one out, but a very close run at the end. And Coco staving off the pack. I mean, it was Coco's show for the first 2 races, but it has gotten tighter and tighter as we move on.
Specifically, it has gotten even closer at the start. I mean, you've got to have your best possible front right at the beginning of these races so that while you do have to win the entire race, you can set yourself up for success early on, and that puts you in a great favorable spot moving on forward. Coco has done this every single time. We see him leading the pack at the beginning of all of these races, but hold on, falling off just a little bit here as he and Elcon continue to duel this one out, and I'll just keep this one moving forward, keep this one going. But as it stands, Dionysus now making himself an advantage and, well, just continuing to duck it out here with, I believe it's Mimo Jr.
Well, Mimo Jr. wanting to get their second win, where Dionysus looking for his first and has a very strong run into it here, looking to hold on, but it's really all about how you find your entrance, and Mimo with such a momentum carry, keeping it on. The bug slide is clean, the finish is cleaner. 2 wins now for Mimo Jr. And Coco still in that finalist spot, but DNFing.
Yeah, again, tricky ways of keeping this one forward and tricky ways of staying on the course when your car is flying so much, and Coco already DNFing right off the first couple turns. So it can become tricky and perilous, especially with how long these players have been racing today, that it's been several hours of consistent Trackmania where you've got to give your best possible effort for as long as you can if you want to continue on forward. Obviously, this one's just a match for fun, just to see how these racers and drivers step up against each other. But again, you don't want to be DNFing. You still want to put in your best possible route here on Grassline.
For fun, Junior? Don't tell Mimo that. I mean, he's been running breakneck pace, forcing these incredibly tight finishes, as now he's having to bite at the heels of Dionysus, who was that front runner last time. But Mimo catching up and has had such a good run on this track's identity. Again, a very strong run into it, a beautiful power slide. It looks like he pushed him off, but collision's not a thing, but the flag collision is there, but just maintaining that lead enough to get the win and move on to the finalist spot.
I'm watching the end of this grass line every single time, and it blows me away how they control their car effortlessly just to do that bug slide and use gravity to their advantage. Mimo Jr. has been one that specifically I've had my eye on, where it just seems like he can do no wrong. He completely controls outside of that slide and just keeps everything going.
Knocking on the door with double finalists here, Junior, and then 2 players without a win. Dionysus has been there, second place, knocking on the door, but unable to finish. And Elcon in spurts looks incredibly strong, but at other times in the track has not found the traction that he so desires. Coco in first, Mimo rocking in second position, and Dionysus chilling in third.
Coco and Mimo have established where the door is. Now they begin the battering ram approach as they have themselves here right at the front of this race. Guaranteed at least 2 more left.
Oh!
But Coco hits the flag there. Now it's Mimo in the front of the pack as they go into the final stage, of this identity phase here.
It's up to Dionysus. He's got to dive it in. It's a beautiful job, but he can't hold on to the brakes. Mimo just has to walk it home, doing just that. And what a showing here coming out. Making it what? I believe that's 3 now back-to-back for Mimo to take the first finalist?
Oh, surely. And you know that Coco is still here, so it's a true driver race here between Coco and Dionysus, as now Coco just finds themselves with 1 race away from, well, winning this for fun game here. But it's the end of our stretch here over here doing Tmgl, the open division, and, well, just enjoying everything. I see a lot of people in Twitch chat commenting on production and just everything that's going on, but we're doing our best here. We're trying our best. We really love this game, and we got to give a big shout out to Videon Studios, who's running our production here, and all the people behind the scenes, just staying alive, Lychee, Phoebe, and Ubisoft Nadeo, all of the people who are making this happen. We might be finding ourselves in the final race of the night, but thank you guys for just enjoying this. Now, as we find ourselves here, as we approach this identity foof, what could be the last one, Coco has got themselves a sizable advantage.
And, you know, Coco just out in control. Dionysus has had a couple of chances to snipe, but has not been comfortable seemingly on the bug slide. Needs to have perfection here, and that is a beautiful one there, closing a lot of the gap, but not enough as Coco takes it to move on and become that second place finisher here in the nice victory lap race.
Nice victory lap indeed. Mimo and Coco coming out on top. And, well, just in terms of how they raced, they came out the best out of it. Now, was this for seeding? No, it wasn't. It was just to drive around the track to burn some gasoline. Or are these cars electric? I don't know Trackmania lore.
I don't know that. I don't know the lore. I would love to learn the Trackmania lore, you know?
I would as well. But that's going to conclude our day as we see these final four that are going to be moving on to the Open Finals. Mimo Jr., Coco, Dionysus, and Elcon will be moving on to the Open Finals at the end of this season. Hats off to them here at Open Qualifier number 3. Things look solid all the way around.
Well, I got to say, first off, Junior, thank you so much for joining me here and having a great time. You made this a lot easier for me, and I had a blast with you. We've already thanked the guys in the back and gals in the back who make this happen with everything that they do. Obviously, we talked about the cameras and everything going on. Very thankful for that. But Twitch chat, most importantly, thank you for joining us here. Thank you for supporting your favorite content creators, and thank you for taking part in this. And remember, coming up in that fourth qualifier, you as well can qualify it as well. You just have to be one of those top 64 times. Junior, you got anything before we close it out?
Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We've got Open Qualifier number 4 coming up right around the corner. Sign up for that. You don't want to miss it. You want to have your best possible shot, and you got a chance to take it against some of the best that this game has to offer. But other than that, Foof, that's all I've got. Thank you, Twitch chat, for tuning in and entertaining us as we continue to talk about these races and continue to learn how to best produce this for you guys on behalf of Videon Studios and Ubisoft Nadia. Thank you guys for watching. Foof, you got anything left to say?
You can't toss it back to me if I tossed it back to you, but Twitch chat, we'll see you on the other side.